Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 141 of Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. My name is Greg. I am the Bat Daddy 52. And folks, this week we are just two fellows from Robert B. Glenn High School with high school educations and talking glorious beards, talking about things we watched. So Sarah's out of power this week. She's not going to be able to be with us, which kind of sucks to be out of power. Sucks to not have Sarah, and it sucks to be out of power.
Over a day, no power.
Yeah, that's rough. That's real rough. I mean, I don't know if I'd rather be out of power during the winter or during the summer.
True.
You know, they both suck.
I mean, I feel like during the summer there's places for you to go, whereas like wintertime, a lot of people tend to, kind of like hide away in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like in the winter, like if it goes out for like a week or something, ooh.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember mine went out last winter for just a day or so, but it was out for that night, and I slept in front of the fireplace. And you would think that sleeping in front of the fireplace, you'd be like, "Oh, well, at least that'll keep you warm." No, it really doesn't. I mean,
it's something
better than the rest of the house, but it's really not that warm.
So. Yeah, I like old-fashioned heat stoves, and as much as like I would prefer to like move to like a more primitive style of life, like go back to the days like live in the mountains where it's cold and have to provide your own heat. At these days, like when Sarah has no power for 24 hours, I'm like, oh man, that sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's. Do you sacrifice everything for that one day to be not be inconvenienced that one day? Yeah. So I'm not totally get that. I don't know. I'd rather just have both. One is a backup and have the technology of the day.
Storms have been wicked though.
Well, yeah, it almost felt like there was a tornado that came through here the day. Like me and my wife rode through town, and there were a lot of trees that had fallen down. Healthy, big trees that had fallen down. Trees that are way stronger than the ones in my yard.
Yeah.
And the ones in my yard didn't fall. So I don't know how these fell, but there was a lot.
It's ironic because like it has stormed all over the place the day before last. And live in that finite little area to where like all the storms passed. All we got was like a little bit of rain, and then yesterday the wind kicked up severe. Like I could see it. It was pushing everything. I having to move stuff around, but hardly like any rain.
Yeah.
And then like you said you had the storms pretty good yesterday, and they came through and clearly showered down on Sarah quite a bit.
Right through onto Sarah's side of town. Yeah. I didn't even look at the storms because I was actually watching Obi Wan when it came through. So I heard it in the background. I was like, man, it's really coming down outside. But I never actually went out there to look at it to see how bad it was. Maybe that's why I'm so surprised when I see the aftermath of it. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Dude, we got our Thor tickets. You got our Thor tickets. So
we gotta go see it, man. We gotta see it.
Opening night, we're going. What are we going to the late show? 10:30, right?
I believe so.
Yes, 10:30. So we'll do a little bit of pool, a little bit of dinner beforehand. So should be fun.
I'm interested to see what it's going to be about. I think that what I originally had in my mind before, now that we've seen Doctor Strange and No Way Home, it's kind of changed a little bit because I didn't know what the MCU was going to do. And I think that's why a lot of people have a lot of kind of, I guess, disappointment towards the direction they're going right now.
Right.
But I stand by like what I constantly say, that after something like Infinity Endgame, that whole tie-up of that enormous saga, it's going to take you a minute. Like, your perception's already going to be screwed up because you're used to what you were getting.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to be getting something a little bit different, a lot more multiversal than what we have seen so far. I thought it was going to be more like that when they jumped from, in Doctor Strange, when they jumped from like our universe to where Reed Richards exists. I thought we were just going to be bouncing all through that for like this whole entire phase, whatever we're in. And
yeah, what phase I think we're 4. Are we in 4?
Is it 4?
I don't know.
It's been a crazy week. I can't tell you anything right now.
It's kind of like when you forget your age. You get to a point where you start to forget your age when you get older. Like I had to count and remind myself how old I am again. I really had no idea what direction they were going either. I still have no direction our idea of what direction they're going with this. I'm just kind of along for the ride. You're right; it's not nearly as multiversy as I thought it
Yeah,
was going to be at this point in time. The way they
it's
made such a huge
definitely
deal
diet.
about it, but they made such a huge deal about that with Captain Marvel too, with her appearance and like her being the strongest Avenger and this and that, and being able to travel through time. And like before she came out and before a movie came out, it was like, can't wait till you see Captain Marvel. And then when Captain Marvel came out, it was like, well, okay, she wasn't like, you didn't make her like as big of a deal of her when she was on screen as like you made her out to be. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's Marvel. Good track record.
They do
You know.
such a good job with what they have. And
Mhm.
then when they realized and they started getting the backing and the more properties and everything else, like I think that's why they need to like do their little retreat, because now that you have your hands in so much, because they're like, people love what you do more of it. They're not piecing it together. Miss Marvel felt like it was a piece that they were just trying to add to the puzzle that
Mhm.
didn't really have a spot quite yet. But like clearly she has a name, name recognition for her goes a long way.
Right.
But we're gonna get a lot more of it. I'm interested to see how they're gonna turn it around. Look, and I know, like you said before, you really enjoyed the first Thor, and I did too. But I really liked how they were able to turn Thor around into. I like the funner character, and I know that he at some point he's gonna have to be serious. But it's funny. It's good seeing him have a full arc,
Mhm.
and that's what I really enjoy. So I hope Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel kind of gets the same thing with Miss Marvel and oh Lord, whatever the other woman's name is from WandaVision. Um,
Wanda? Oh, you're
no,
talking about Spectre? Is that what no,
yeah, I
not
think that's what they're going with.
uh, yeah, I can't remember. Yeah.
But with if they do all of that, it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Uh dang it, I had a train of thought I was going with what you were saying here, and I've completely lost the train of thought that I was rolling with. I'm wondering where Captain Marvel fits into this, like this, not she's not Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel fits into this universe. Um, Watching the show, and I guess we can actually we're going to talk about the shows here in a little while. We don't have to walk into Miss Marvel first because I don't know if you have any news you want to go over or whatever.
Not
But
really.
okay, so we'll
There's been
just
a lot of stuff people talked about, but nothing serious.
talk about Miss Marvel a little bit then. Um, I haven't seen a villain introduced, and beyond being knowing it's in Marvel and beyond the references to Avengers and everything else, I don't see a lot of connection in this universe. It's only 2 episodes in. I don't have to have that right now. It's not ruining the show for me. But I wonder, I'm like, okay, where are they fitting this into this universe? Because you said it seems like they're trying to fit like a puzzle piece into this, what's going on. And I feel like it's kind of like what they did with Ant-Man. But with Ant-Man, they had a place to put him into a major team up movie immediately afterwards. We know we're not getting a major team up movie. So like
Yeah.
I'm wondering how this fits in the universe. I'm not saying I don't like it. It's a good show, but I get the same kind of vibes as I did from Stargirl. Like it's a different kind of show, but it's that same kind of thing. Like it's fun. Um, I don't know if it goes on for X amount of seasons, how many seasons I would continually follow it. Because like I'm kind of I don't know if I even want to continue to follow Stargirl. It's a good show, but it's like, I don't know how much is hanging on to me. It's not meant for me. It's not my
Yeah.
I'm not the demographic they're aiming for. Um, but I'm enjoying what I see so far with Miss Marvel. I have questions about where is this show going and what's going to happen with it. You
Well,
know?
to your point about like the about how Ant Man fit in better, it's because he was small fry and he was the heist man, and that's what they didn't really need a heist man, but the fact that he had these abilities to both grow and shrink were very good when they put him in that team up movie.
Mm.
Captain Marvel is all powerful. I mean, you can't just interject her, but I mean, I think that it worked out decent enough in Endgame for her to come down, and destroy the ship, because it was that pivotal moment where they needed someone super powerful to come in and do that.
Right.
Miss Marvel, the show itself is an introduction to the character, and I think that the show itself is great. I
Yeah.
really like the show. Everything that they're doing with I mean, I love all of the shots. I love how creative that they are with telling a story within the story and making the viewer seem a lot more interjected than just, I don't know, like At some point, you can always be omniscient because you're the viewer. You see everything. That's the whole point, is you get to
Mhm.
see everything that's going on. Well,
Mhm.
in Miss Marvel, they do a lot more. They do a lot of explaining to help you get to that point,
Oh
and
yeah,
not because you're dumb, but because it's fun.
yeah. Well, and you know, with Miss Marvel too, I actually just talked to my daughter about it. My daughter's 15. This is the age. This is exactly the
Yep.
age range they're shooting for with this show, and my daughter and her male and female friends absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's really
Like she
good.
says, her and her friends really love it. She actually hasn't watched episode 2 yet, and she was like, "You've already seen episode 2?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course I've seen episode 2. I'm gonna talk about it tonight." Um, but yeah, she's really really enjoying it. So they nailed that demographic, or at least from my daughter and her friends' point of view.
Yeah,
Like
it
they really
opens up
love the show.
the. I mean, kids are a lot more. What's the word I want to use? Um, Kids are a lot more open to the world they live in now. I mean,
Mhm.
they have phones and computers and technology. Like it teaches them to be open to everything that exists. And when you're young and you have no cares in the world to worry about, your voice is what you have. And like
Mhm.
it's funny seeing how traditional of a family that Kamala Khan comes from, and you have someone like Bruno, her best friend, who comes from a totally different point of view. But I mean, they're all living in Jersey. The cultural influences are crazy. Um, the fact that she just when that episode 2 opened up, you could see the confidence on her just from that moment that she had in the last episode, and it was
That's my
so
first note, is
crazy.
confident coming into school. Like, that's my
Yeah,
first note I wrote down.
I
Yep.
mean, it was a night and day difference seeing her do
Mhm.
that. And I mean, this character is a lot more of a this character. I've heard it before, but it was the first thing I thought of watching the first episode. This character is a lot more of a Spider-Man style character.
Yes.
It's a lot more street level. Um, Spider-Man has gone on to be part of fantastic things in the comic books, but at the end of the day, he's a kid.
Mhm.
He's a kid trying to get along in life.
You relate to Peter Parker. You
Yeah.
don't necessarily relate to Tony Stark. You don't necessarily relate to Steve Rogers or Thor Odinson. You don't relate to these guys. You can relate to Peter Parker. You can relate to Kamala Khan. Like, I mean, it's that's why the character is so good, and that's why I think my daughters like it so much, and I'm enjoying the show as well. It's like I said, it's not something that I would eventually stop watching, because I mean, I like the Flash, and I stopped watching that after 3 seasons. I mean, so I'll definitely give it a few seasons, especially if it continues to be good and part of the main storyline that I need to watch anyway. Before we get too far into that, I remember I was going to say, you were talking about Thor before. The thing I love what they've done with Thor is they've given us a bunch of different versions of Thor. You've
Yeah.
got the serious Thor, the badass Thor that I like. You've got the more comedic one that you're more of a fan of. But Chris Hemsworth plays both parts so well, and he can snap back to either one at any point in time. And that's what they've done with Thor. And that's what I like about it, is he may not be the badass all the time whenever like you're not in a fight, but he's a guy you want to have in a fight with you. And
Well,
that's the kind of Thor I want.
and man, not only the fight, but I mean, Chris Hemsworth plays such a multifaceted role with Thor. I mean, the loss that you see on his face in Infinity War, like I felt that, when he's talking to Rocket and having that conversation, like I lost my brother, I lost my father, I lost my mother, I've lost everyone,
Mm-hmm.
and an eyeball.
Yeah.
Found out I got a sister, and she's the worst person that could ever exist.
Killed my
So,
father. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like when you see the gravity of what has gone on with that character, you're like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right. So
tough one.
back to Miss Marvel real quick. The next point I want to bring up about that is, one thing I love about the show, and I love when they do these scenes, is the scenes where she's walking in somewhere or saying something or talking, and it's what she sees and feels in her mind, and then it snaps back to what's actually happening in reality.
Yep.
Because I've had those kind of moments in my life, where like in my mind, this is what's happening, but in real life, this is what's happening, type thing. And I love when they snap back and forth between those two things, and that's a really really cool way to film the show.
I think no, all of the creativeness for the cinematography and the directing style and everything that goes into this, the team has meshed so well that it's ridiculous. That what you get on screen is fantastic, and I don't like most of the Marvel shows. Like take like the boys for example, right? As soon as the boys came out with this season, they mentioned that they renewed it for the next season. the Marvel doesn't give you that kind of news.
Mm-hmm.
DC is always up in the air because DC really sits heavy on their ratings. So like in the Arrowverse, it depends on like how much like the last season got ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel is just literally playing a game where it's like, here's a character, watch this. It's a little story we wanted to tell, and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to get another one.
Mm-hmm. It's like the comparison of a big. I'm in the process of trying to buy a vehicle right now, so I'm going. I see this. It's like big car dealerships, like the Ford, Nissan, Chevy dealerships. They just go out and buy vehicles and put them on the lot. Whether they're eventually going to sell these and whether they're doing it doesn't matter. And then there's the small mom and pop places that have so many less because they have to invest in what they've got so much, and what they've got has to be successful for them to. So it's just like that. Like with Marvel. Marvel's part of Disney, man. It's part of the mouse. Like you have unlimited power now. Yeah.
At some point, you have to pinpoint your audience, and I mean, like they have such a wide audience that pinpointing it is not that hard.
Shotgun. They're using the shotgun method, man. Just put everything out there, and everybody's going to grab a little bit of this.
Yeah.
So they don't have to have everything. They're not relying on everything being an insanely financial success.
Yeah.
But
people. I didn't get a whole lot of news from people on Moon Knight, but that was a Marvel show that was within the Marvel universe that felt like it could go somewhere. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I mean, I know they're going to make more of it, but at the same time, I just don't know like how they're going to weave him in the future. But I think the fact that they put all this stuff on Disney Plus now gives them such a wide, like you said, shotgun, a wide array of where and when they can use characters because they've already brought them in. Sometimes they'll surprise you with new characters and then go back and tell you, their story. But Miss Marvel, even though they've, changed some things that people don't like because you can't please everybody, watching this show is great.
Yeah.
I mean, they mentioned the Ant-Man reference, not only the Ant-Man reference, they mentioned the, oh my God, what's his name? Yeah, that's decent timing. They mentioned who plays Ant-Man?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd as like the sexiest man. So they made that whole joke about like how hot Ant-Man was, and like it was not only like real life innuendo and Marvel innuendo, but it was all really good. How they just tied that little bit back in, and it was no more than like 30 seconds of dialogue. So it worked out really well.
Sorry,
I like how
that lightsaber alert with Sarah. She might be joining us in a little bit, so we're gonna send her an invite real quick. Sorry, go ahead.
I like how everyone's calling her Nightlight.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was talking to my wife about this today in the car. I myself have been in my mind and a little bit on paper trying to write and create some stuff because like I'm just trying to be more creative as I get older, and just more stuff I wanted to do for the longest time and I haven't. And it's so funny with this and like The Boys, how insanely easy it is for these writers to just come up with a hero and a name and a power and bam and make it work. And I'm like, yeah. Well, first of all, because you can't come up with anything new because every type of power or it's been used. Most names have this, so you've got to be really, really creative with what you do. But like I see it on like The Boys and like even here with Nightlight, I'm like, man, or how quickly people do it on Spider-Man with Night Monkey. Like I'm like, man, how do people do this so quickly and it sticks and it's so well or does so well?
They're a team, man. I mean, when you like it's always difficult for me because like I'm a thinker, someone says like build me something, my brain just goes into overdrive. Like my mouth turns off and my head starts working. And when you get into a room full of people who have all these ideas and you start literally just throwing stuff to see what sticks, and once something sticks, you can build a whole entire persona of a character in minutes. You say the stupidest things, but like it's perfect because Nightlight, when she makes all these bright weird things that people see, like it's such a double meaning and it's ridiculous and it's funny. And I thought that as a kid who wants to be a superhero, who has a superhero that she idolizes, people are calling her stuff already just like they, she probably has to deal with like growing up and being of some shade of a color, being called Nightlight is just hilarious to me. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
It's very patronizing. Well, it's patronizing, but it's actually like if Nightlight wasn't associated with children, it would actually be a cool name.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, to be truly honest with you, I mean,
But
think
that's
about
the
it.
other side of it right there, is that it's
Yeah.
like, it's very, oh, you're so cute.
Right, right. Very fitting for the character.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I wrote a lot of notes about this, but since I watched this one, I don't remember a ton. We like I said, I don't think we have uh they've established anything about a villain yet, but towards the end of this episode, we did find out at least about a new character. We've got questions about her grandmother the whole time. Is it grandmother, great grandmother, great grandmother?
Oh, her great grandmother.
Great
I think it's
grandmother, I
great
think,
grandmother.
that shamed the family. So
Yeah.
she's done something to shame the family, and it has something to do with this Bengal. Is that what it's called on her arm?
Bengal. Yeah.
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 And her mom knows something about it. Like has to know something about it. Right?
It seems almost like your great grandmother was like a hippie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like she lived like this really weird, carefree life. And so in this aspect, and she's not a hippie, she was like a misunderstood superhero.
Mm.
You know, it's like a witch before, you know, witches in the MCU were cool, I guess.
Right.
But you have, well, I want to say this because it seems to be that the big bad is going to be mixed in with, you know, it's not going to be one big bad where there's going to be like 2 or 3 situations she has to handle, and the damage. Oh, they're in the comic book too, man. I can't think of anything tonight. But
it's Saturday. We turned our brains off on Friday.
I know, man. The group of people who pick up and clean up after the superheroes when they go in and, you know, make a massive mess. Like the whole part that Falcon was in Spider-Man, you know, where he was the part of the crew that went in and started doing that. Well, then his team got booted out because Tony Stark created the damage, whatever, the assessing part. And what that is, I mean, it's a whole organization. But it seems like the law enforcement people, that was the mid-credit scene from the first episode, was seeing those 2 cops right off the bat. And it seems like they're going to be kind of the authority. So she's going to fight not only authority, but then she's going to have maybe some boyfriend's mother to be a problem too, and then a whole family issue to deal with also.
Yes, that is the issue because the person we saw at the end was, so what's the guy's name? Kamalan? Is that the guy's name? His mother?
Yeah, or Carmon, I think.
Carmon? Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I thought I wrote it down right, but maybe I didn't.
I think it's Carmon.
Carmon? Okay. Who Bruno looks like is insanely jealous of. Who
Yeah.
I still stand by. Bruno, for me, just looks like a young Travis Snow. Like I still haven't shown him the side-by-side picture yet, but I'm going to show it to him. I thought it was funny how they throw the little teenage love story in here too, because like obviously Bruno has feelings for her. You know, obviously he's a big part of his family, and he'd already signed up to go to this program in California. But now there's another guy around. He's like, well, I don't know if I want to go. And it's like, well, dude, what do you think was going to happen when you? I mean, I get it. And it's a kid. I get it, kid. But what do you think was going to happen when you left anyway? You know. So, but
well, he's smart. I mean, he was.
You wouldn't have been able to tell me that when I was that age.
Oh, very true.
I don't disagree with him.
That's a girl that I have feelings for. Mm-hmm. He was rocking the Marty McFly look when he was sitting in there too with the orange vest. And I'm like, they just keep throwing all sorts of little things at you. They had the whole training montage between him and Kamala.
That was cool.
There's that one moment where they did the Black Widow scene. It was like, you have to let me go. Let me go.
Yeah. Just lets me falls like an inch.
2 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that. I'm trying to think. See, I have a problem because I wrote this is why I don't like writing vague notes. I usually go into super detail, but then I miss stuff on screen. So like I tried not to miss stuff on screen and write vague notes, but then I can't even remember what the hell my notes are about.
Well, you have the was it the Eid Mubarak festival?
Yes, which I meant to look that up to find out what that was about.
I don't really remember. I mean, I just know it's popular in the culture. I remember it being celebrated when I was in countries that celebrated it. Uh, but it was funny seeing it Jersey style, and it was funny that when they did all the niche groups of like the Insta
Right.
whatever, and
Hmm.
like all those types, because I mean it all truly exists, and it's funny whenever you pinpoint a culture in such a small area when there's plenty of them, plenty of people to partake in it, because it was all right there in your face, and you're like, I mean, that's just like high school all over again.
It's
It's
exactly what it felt
exactly
like.
like high school.
The parking lot of high school. Yep.
Yep,
That's exactly what it felt like. So,
all the clicks.
mhm. But yeah, man, this show's really taken off for me so far. Nothing I don't like about it, other than I'm trying to figure out where the story's going. But like I said, it did give us that little bit at the end there. It's like, okay, now we've established this character, we've established everybody in this world. I think that maybe, and this is why I think that it's going down the same type of path as like Stargirl, like her rival, high school rival friend, the one she saved.
Oh,
Um,
the Zoe girl.
yeah, I think that there's going to be some kind of thing where she's some kind of, maybe it's only on a social level that they make
Mm.
her like a villain, but she's going to be some kind of thing that she has to defeat or
She seems to be getting
overcome.
it. Like when her party got raided, which Carmen jumping off the roof. Like I don't understand that. Whatever. And
That
he's a
was a badass
senior.
flip though, but man,
He's a senior with like a five
balls.
o'clock shadow all the time.
Yeah,
You know. Um.
drives a badass vehicle.
Yeah, a Porsche. Like, what's it? Porsche, whatever the Panorama or whatever the four door is.
Yeah, she's
Like,
not driving that.
he's coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was, I mean, completely suspicious. I mean, when you see the kid, I thought that he was going to be like it's like a sleeper agent or something of the sort. But it appears more that that they could end up helping each other. Maybe him and her. Maybe he's got some sort of thing, and his mom teaches him. Maybe she's like the opposite of like Valentina from the end of uh, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
I don't
Maybe.
know. Here's the thing: I don't know enough, and I like that because each like there's 2 episodes out of 6 so far, and I've just been like both of them. Like I just eat them up.
Because you're not making up something in your mind that you're building
Yeah.
expectations for.
Yep.
Yes, I totally agree with you that is the beauty of having these characters that I don't know much about. So when they're done well, characters I don't know much about is great because of that fact. And that's why I've been staying away from trailers and all that kind of stuff and
Yep.
news as much as I can, because even the characters I know a lot about, if you can surprise me a little bit, it makes it that much more fun.
Yep.
I hate knowing what's happening, and I hate having an idea built up in my mind and like, okay, this is what I want, this is what's going to happen, and then it not happening, then I feel almost more disappointed because usually it's not done as well as what I thought it was going to be, but that's just my mind. They don't make the movies
No.
for me, shows for me. So
We live in that clickbait culture, man. It's
mhm.
difficult. You got to get out there and see it, make your own opinion before everyone tells you how either bad it sucks or how decent that it actually is.
Mhm.
Everyone was
Thi-
talking about Top Gun. I'm like, I haven't seen it yet. I'm just gonna manage my expectations. I know everyone's saying it's
right.
good, but I just want to manage my expectations.
Well, that was one you couldn't avoid hearing the news for.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, you're gonna hear the news about that. But honestly, that's why you and me and Sarah, we don't really discuss the shows until we get here live. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
may say a thing or two, but beyond that, we just, because I don't want to influence y'all's opinion. I don't want y'all to influence mine, and it's just more fun to get a reaction right then and there. You know. But for
Definitely.
the most part, I pretty much know what y'all are thinking about a lot of stuff anyway. So, and
What do you
likewise,
think
I'm
about
sure
ice
you
cream pizza?
ice cream. That was going to be my show opener. I knew I had something down. I knew I had something. I was like, I meant to write it down. Ice cream pizza. I mean, the logic was there. I like the flavors, so I put them
It was
together.
funny just having that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think of your favorite food. Ice cream pizza. Is that one or two? It's two, but I put them together, and like the nonsense of the conversation just
Yeah.
kept rolling. I'm like, okay, I can get on board with this. Like they didn't make it. It wasn't. It was just enough of a quip
Mm-hmm.
to be really good, and not like suck because it was too long or be crappy because they only mentioned it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think that the timing and like the way that they're working this stupid stuff in is perfect.
Oh yeah. one thing I need from this show, I kind of think I need it next episode, and I think we're going to get it. I need some kind of explanation of powers, some kind of like somebody who knows about these powers to have some kind of dialogue that tells me what she can and can't do, limitations, abilities, things like that. Like I need to know. I just need to have an idea of it. We've seen things so far, and we've seen her grow and develop with them, and I like the little stepping stone things she does. I like seeing her get better with that. I like the powers I've seen so far. I just want to know what the limitations are and like what all she can do. Like, is this it? And if so,
She
how good
doesn't
does it
know.
get? You know, I know, but somebody does,
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that in the show at some point in time, and I think next episode we're going to start diving into a little more story, a little more Miss Marvel story. Now that
I
we've
think
introduced and met all the characters.
we've been getting the 6 episode thing for a little bit now,
Mhm.
and it seems like episode 4 really starts to kind of give you more information. 3 leaves you to a point where you're a little pissed off because you didn't get it yet, and then 4 you start to get it. 5 they stretch out that window between episodes 4 and 6, and then 6 is clearly like
Before they wrap it
the
up, yeah.
resolve. So
Hmm.
I
Well,
don't
we don't
know if
have
you're gonna
long.
get a next one, but you're definitely gonna get more information.
Yeah, we won't have long before we get there. I know that, but show's doing really well so far. Like I said, for my daughters, that's the age group they're going for. They're hitting it right on the head. They love it. I'm loving it. Just keep it coming, Marvel. I have questions about how it ties in, but it's not going to affect how much I like the show based on me not knowing how they're going to integrate this in the system. Because I'm sure, once again, they're way smarter than me. They've got this figured out. They've been thinking about this for a long
Yeah,
time.
we know she's gonna be in the Marvels movie, so I don't know how much extra you're gonna get because I mean you get so much Captain Marvel just because the fact that she loves her so much, and it's cool to actually see the next generation look up to the superheroes that existed before.
Yeah.
To become superheroes themselves. So now we're getting that aspect.
It's funny that this has been around literally in our world so long that you have a next generation of people
Yeah.
that can look up to these characters, and that's awesome to be able to follow. But
Yeah, you got to think about it I was doing like a major rewatch before Infinity War came out. You know, kids had not seen these movies, like a few here and a few there. But I mean, like, no, you don't understand. This whole thing is a story.
mhm.
And then you teach that story, and then you reach a certain point to where like that next generation picks it up. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember being in college, being at work, and the guys at work talking about, "Hey, you seen the stuff for the Iron Man movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, looks pretty good." So it's crazy how long this has been going on. I think, yeah, that's all I got for Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Sarah is going to come on. She's finishing watching Strange New Worlds now that she has power back. So she wants us to go and talk about the boys because she's not caught up on that. That way she can talk about Obi Wan and Strange New Worlds with us. So let's talk. Unless you had something else with Miss Marvel.
The only other thing that I could remember was at the end. I don't understand how Carmom and his mom showed up in the car and like no one else saw it. That was it.
That was I had it started in the very end, the getaway. Like,
Yeah.
how does nobody notice this?
Or hear it. I mean,
Yeah, because she kind of like flipped over the edge of the car and like they're on the other side of this vehicle. All she did was like jump over a vehicle and then a car zooms up, picks her up and goes away. And it's like, where'd she go? It's like, there's no
yeah.
way you didn't see that car. Zoom up and
Nightlight
pick her up.
magic.
Yeah. So that was one thing I had noted on there, but whatever, man.
Yeah.
That's can't bring too much logic into these stories. There's actually a couple things in all these shows that I have that are the exact same. It's like, how exactly did that happen? But well, let's move on then. Let's go on to the boys. Talking about 2 episodes this week. Because last week we didn't get to talk about the episode 4, was it? So we're on 4 and 5 this week.
Yes.
Okay, so just starting at the beginning of episode 4, and we'll bounce around just talking about both these episodes. But man, this Homelander plot is thickening. Based on what they've brought in with Soldier Boy in this season, I think that we may see the end of Homelander at the end of this season.
It's totally possible.
I really, really do. Like, part of this show being so good is one, that like how realistic it is, but two, that there really are no stakes. Like they don't hold back. So I think that anybody is on the table to be killed. I do think that we're going to see a few main characters be killed this season. I think that A-Train's gone. I think the Deep is gone. And I think that we might actually see the end of Homelander at the end of this season, to be truly honest with you. But I'm not sure.
I
That's the
think you have,
direction they're pointing me in. So that may be what they're wanting me to think as it's
yeah,
going, you know? So
they're trying to give you the fact, or they're trying to give you the the well, I don't know if I call him a hero or a villain. They're trying to give you the opposing force to Homelander, and so if there finally is something that can stop him, then I mean, you figure that figure episode 4 they brought him in, and you start to try to understand Soldier Boy's power and his new power. It's interesting because last season did a good job of telling the story past what they did with episode or season 1. Season 1 was really good, but it was all brand new. You didn't know what to expect. Season 2, a little bit of a slump for me, but it feels like with this one, they're doing the same story, which is things are tough. At the end of season 2, the boys were like on a high, like they did what they needed to do. They accomplished something. So when the hero wins, it doesn't feel like there's as much turmoil, right? In this season, it came out and you have Nazi Homelander. I mean, he is Hitler Homelander right now. He is like adopted what Stormfront wanted him to adopt, and the Storm Chasers or whatever that clique they're calling themselves is. But at the same time, it's so puny and weak because he runs his life off of ratings,
right.
And he's twisted, But then you have the likes of all these minor superhero stories, and you have the boys that are tearing themselves apart yet again. To now, we saw in episode 5 that they're going to have to force themselves to come back together. They got to work towards something because of what they're ultimately trying to do is stop the things that happen to them happening to other people.
Yeah.
And they upped the bar with this V24 or whatever the temporary V is.
Yeah.
But man,
that's some pretty cool stuff. I'm not going to lie.
And they keep making fun of Huey.
That's some pretty fucking cool stuff.
They can't let Huey have a good moment.
And that's all he wants. That's what he keeps saying. That's all I really want. And you know what? Hey, I'll go ahead and say it.
He's naked.
I called it. Huey has taken the V now. I said that was going to happen. I said I didn't think the season's going to do that. And what was the other thing I called? I had it written down here. I was just talking about it or just thinking about it. I'll remember it because we'll bring it up, and I'm sure I'm like, yeah, I called that one too. Now I can't even think about what the hell's wrong with my mind, man. Anyway, I called something else, and we're going to talk about that in a little while too. I'm sure whenever it comes back to me, but yeah, man, the boys. When I talked to Nathan about it, he and I love about the show. It's the most realistic superhero show there is, because if there were superheroes in the real world, it would be very similar to this, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
I mean, maybe even worse than this. This may be even a little tamed down for how it would actually be.
The fact that they base it off of base their livelihood off of ratings, and that ranks them like where they are in the whole super or non-super scheme, is about the only thing that's keeping them leashed.
Yeah. And the best part about this is they take real world aspects, stuff that's actually that's why it feels so real. They take stuff that's actually, it's almost like a live action South Park. They take real stuff and they pick on that, and they pick on both sides of it, which is great. Like, you see how stupid you're being, see how stupid you're being. This is how stupid it looks. And I love that about the show. Absolutely love that about the show. But
the Blue Hawk and A-Train moment, I'm like, fucking A-Train's a retard. What is he doing? Why is he bringing him in to do this? And it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It fell on its face, and it turned him into, a martyr for a cause.
Yep.
I'm like,
his
so normal, real
reasoning was not wrong.
Yeah.
A-Train. It's just you went about it the wrong way. Your
Totally.
reasoning for what you're doing is completely justifiable, and something needs to be done. But that wasn't the way to do it. And that's the character they're making him out to be, is just the oblivious character. Like, he's oblivious to everything. Like, he doesn't stand for anything, and he wants to stand for something because I think he knows his time is coming.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming soon. I think A-Train's going to put it, or not A-Train, Homelander's going to put it into him by the end of this season. Like, I thought it was going to happen in episode 3, but it's going to happen real soon. Can we talk about the lethal dildo scene?
Oh, we totally can. We're skipping around like crazy. I was trying to do it chronologically, but yeah, I did screwed up myself with Blue Hawk. But yeah, that dildo scene was.
And so, well, it was funny because, like, when I first saw it, like, it shows it real quick, like the whole wall of them, and I was like, "What were those?" I wasn't sure exactly. I had an idea. And I was like, "I think those were dildos, but I'm not sure." And then, like, immediately after that, you're like, "Okay, pretty crazy, shoving dildos through guys' faces and everything else."
Kamiko puts holes in people with dildos that don't exist.
Yes. I mean, she's using it for the intended purpose, just the wrong hole, I guess you would say. The hole she creates for it. So, pretty insane scene. It was crazy how they had one for every member of the 7. Like, everything in this universe is about the 7. Every single thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the ratings thing is important. Like, for them to climb that ladder and be a part of that, that Justice League Avengers-esque style group, you have to, play ball when there's so many people that were exposed to the V. What do you do when there's a whole subculture of superpowered people?
Right. We did get one question, or at least I did answer in this episode 4, that I was wondering. It was whether Nadia could defeat Homelander, whether she could make his head explode. I don't think we got it answered, but we got what they think answered. I don't think they know. I don't think Homelander knows. I don't think she knows if she can. I think they haven't tested it, but Homelander up to this point hasn't wanted to take a chance, and that's what Edgar's had on him, right? Is her. Like, I'm assuming that's what he's had on him, because he's had something on Homelander, and he even says in this episode, "I still have control of him." I don't know how, but he has something. And I thought it was Nadia. I thought it was, well, I can use her on you, and you can't do anything, because she can do that through video, right? It's anything she can visually see. She can, I think.
I don't know if that's what he had on her. I know that she was definitely scared because she fears for the safety of her daughter. And the moment that it was found out that the person in the CIA who could possibly do damage to the 7, is that related to Edgar, it would spell trouble for her and her daughter right off the bat.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I mean, yeah, we don't know if she can do it. We're led to believe that it's possible.
Yeah.
And it very well could happen. But fear is what's driving that whole thing right now. Fear of Homelander is keeping Nadia in line for her daughter's sake.
Yeah.
So,
which, by the way, she gave her the old school V, like the stuff from season 2, like the permanent stuff.
Oh,
remember she like injected it into her back? Because I was looking at that and I was like, oh, that's the permanent stuff. That's not like the stuff that InGen created in Ninja Turtles. Like, that's like, or TGRI.
The blue stuff was the original, and then the green was the temporary.
Yeah, the green's a temporary. Yeah, I said InGen is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. InGen is Jurassic Park. TGRI is Ninja Turtles. Get your stuff right, Greg. Come on.
You're Phi-Science all over the place right now.
I know, right? Hey, what was the point of Mother's Milk saying like Red Dawn and Rocky IV and like all the different 80s movies names whenever they were breaking into that facility? Did you notice that? Like, he kept saying all these 80s movies, like Red Dawn, Rocky IV, and like, I was like, why is he doing that?
Oh, because they all related to Russia.
Oh, okay.
That's where like the Ivan comments, like, okay, Ivan's got him now. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's all relating to Russia.
Yeah. All right, so we got Promise QS Panda in the chat. Says, wait, that's her daughter. I thought that was her sister. If you're still in the chat, you're going to have to give me a little more information on what you're talking to, because I saw this.
Nadia's daughter?
Maybe. Yeah, that's definitely Nadia's daughter. That in there. It's not her sister, because she mentioned a number of times her daughter. I think that might be what she's talking about. Yeah, I saw this late. It may have been about the last show. I'm not sure. So, um, let's see. Kimiko and Frenchie want to leave. And I can totally understand their mindset of wanting to leave, but at least they're going to finish this one job. I do like these like days. Like, look, man, we're here to do this. We're going to finish this job, then we'll go. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad we're not going through that turmoil in this season. Like, finish this, and then you're cool if you go. And yeah, she was talking about Nadia. Or was talking about Nadia. So yeah, that's her daughter, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen Edgar say her daughter. So I like that Edgar calls Homelander bad product.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying. He's got to have something on him still, because he's got some balls.
Well, he is keeping. I'm like, he knows how to treat him, and that's why you see Homelander where he is now. Like all of that aggression of being treated the way he doesn't want to be treated is, and has been, compacting and adding up. When I'm gonna forget her name now. When the other woman that he breastfed off of was in control.
Who are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about Homelander.
Yeah, the one that he killed. When she was in control, she played to him in a totally different manner. And now you have Edgar, like the angry father figure who basically says, like, you are literally just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And you don't understand that, once, like many other movie lines, everything that is good from you came out of a bottle. You can't control the person that you put into that position. And that's why I say, like, he is very Hitler-esque right now. He is realizing that nothing can stand in his way because he has a following, and it is literally pushing him.
But he's also realizing that it wasn't just about him being the hero. There's a lot more behind the scenes stuff that went on that we're going to talk about in this next episode that went on that he's having to cover now that Edgar's gone, which is cool to see. He sees that aspect of it too. It's like, it's not just this.
Yeah. He didn't want all that.
Does Edgar has powers, doesn't he?
I don't think so.
Well, didn't he get blown up at the end of season 2 and like half his body was like gone and burnt away, and now he's fine? So he's got to have some kind of healing powers.
It's possible. I'm gonna tell you, I don't remember a whole lot about season 2.
I'll have to go back and watch it. I do remember there was a scene where there was an explosion and we thought he died, but you saw him in like a Two-Face-esque thing where he was like fucked up, but he lived. And I'm like, well, maybe he has powers too then, because he's not messed up now. But I got to go back and watch that too. Okay. Yeah, I got to go back and watch that too. And I thought it was funny too how the first time Huey took the V, didn't Butcher say that he must have licked up the whatever was left, the droppings or whatever was left, because he didn't have enough to give him some, but he had the teleportation power, so he's like, hey, he must have licked it up. Interesting. All right, so on to the next one. The next episode. This episode ends with them, with Soldier Boy doing his little explosion thing and Kimiko getting injured from it and not healing. So she's looking like she's not going to make it. And I actually thought there might be a chance they might kill her. I'm glad they didn't, because I like the character, but I thought, I was like, they may kill her here. So it makes me believe that whatever reason she's not healing is what they're going to be able to use against Homelander. Whatever it was that Soldier Boy did, and I don't know what it was. They haven't explained it yet. That's going to be the reason they're going to be able to stop Homelander.
Well, what we get in the next episode is you see Soldier Boy's power increasing like crazy. The first blast on Kimiko was, or Kamiko, however you want to say it, was very small compared to the next one that he did in the city when he put a hole through the building.
Yes.
I mean, it was massive. And the next one we'll talk about in a minute, but the next one was even bigger than that, or so it looked from the distance that you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But Kamiko being in the hospital and then finally realizing that blast seems to be like negating everything that the V compound does in superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it is the balancing equation, then that's how as you said, that it could be how he takes down Homelander.
Mm-hmm.
But does it kill him? Or, like, is it temporary? Like, we haven't figured those things out yet. Is
Maybe we
Kimiko
get
only in a minute?
yeah, maybe we get a powerless, captured Homelander at the end of the season, but not dead. And, continues to write the story about what's going on with him. They made the Deep the head of the crime analytics lab, and I love how everything the Deep's doing, he's just following whatever his girlfriend says to do, and he's just a puppet on a string, just following everything. That I don't think he's going to last much longer. Like I said, I think there's going to be a lot of the 7 dead at the end of the season, or the original 7 dead at the end of the season.
Yeah,
and
I think that's
unfortunately,
where
I think Maeve's one of them.
Saying the dawn of the 7 moment.
Yeah.
When he was like, no, this is the dawn of the 7. He realized it was a good time for him to turn around and say it. And I'm like, oh, like that means that the dusk of the 7 is going to be right around the corner.
Mm-hmm. Panda asks how many episodes are left. There's 10 in this season? We're on 5, so there's 5 episodes
There's
left?
either 9 or 10.
Yeah, it's almost, it's either halfway or right at halfway done. I know that. So we're getting there.
Oh, it could be wrong. It could be 8.
Ooh, if it's 8, then we're over halfway.
Well, according to IMDb right now, it says 8. So
okay. Yeah. So Maeve and Butcher getting it on. Kind of saw that one coming, but I mean, attractive male, attractive female, add alcohol, alone, stressed out, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's part of the equation. You knew that was going to happen. Like as soon as they work out the alcohol, I was like, okay, yeah, that's going to happen here. And then I love how what's his name? How Homelander can smell Butcher on her. And that's how he knows that she's doing something. We don't know what happened to her, right? We know Black Noir, who has a very minimal role in this season, came up behind her and captured her. We know she's away at a rehab facility, right? Because apparently she's a recovering alcoholic. So she's away at a rehab facility, and that's all we know.
I think that was definitely an excuse for something. She's probably not at a rehab facility.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, yeah. I know this. Yeah.
But it's funny because the woman too, is it Ashley?
Yes, the new CEO. Yeah.
So to see her arc throughout the seasons of the show is really good, and especially like in the moment where like she pulled out her Homelander dildo and it's like gonna bend over what's his face.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, she is like vying for power because she has none. She realizes that she's losing it, and so when you saw was the first or the second episode where she's banging the director of the movie and like telling him to pull her hair out, and you're like you were so psychologically damaged. Yes. It is ridiculous.
You'd have to be around all these people though.
No, for sure.
Yeah. I think she bites the dust by the end of this season too, but I think she is a huge factor. Surprise, like swing in at the last second reason or something happens she does why the good guys end up winning or don't die at the end. I think something she's going to do because she had that moment. You can see it in her. She doesn't like where she's at. She's scared. But she snapped back to her reality of where she's got to be and had her little Homelander moment too with Starlight there when Starlight was asking her about Maeve. So
and she did it at the CEO meeting or the head meeting, the board meeting. There you go. Boom.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word board for some reason. The board meeting, and she sat at the top of the table until Homelander walked in, and then took her seat and was basically telling everyone else, like to. Once again, like shut up in color, like do your job, like speak the way you need to speak. And when that one woman stepped out of line and started bringing up to Homelander something that just troubled him because, like you said, something that he didn't think about. Mm-hmm. And not only did he not think about, he knew nothing about.
Right. Yeah.
And you knew he knew nothing about it because he turned around and said it later in the episode, like he was trying to be smart.
Well, it's funny too, because she didn't even do anything wrong. All she was doing was her job and she wasn't even rude about it. The problem was what came out of her mouth was not a compliment. About what he was doing. And that's how narcissistic this guy is, that because the words that came out of your mouth were not a compliment about what I've done, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would have just gotten out. Like the moment he says get out, don't even try to say anything. I thought he was going to kill her. Like every moment that I see in this movie, I'm just waiting for that. It's like Tom Brady retiring. I'm gonna keep saying it's gonna happen until it does, and eventually it does. It's going to, and I'm about to say, I told you it was gonna happen. He's gonna snap on somebody. He's going to effing snap.
The scary no the think of the parallel though. Think about if you had Captain America in his shoes. You don't want the whole thing about like Civil War was that, Captain America didn't think that the government should tell them when it is a good time to step in because red tape and bureaucrat and blah blah blah. Like if lives are in danger, then you need to step in and do what's right. But on the totally opposite end of the spectrum, you put someone like Homelander in that position where he's in charge. And this is the world that you get. This is people like you saying like he's going to break and at some point he's just going to kill everybody. Because we saw the vision last season of him being pissed off at that crowd and then like levitating and blasting the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be interesting to see that scene when it happens because I know it's going to happen at some point in time. At some point in time, it's going to be the world versus Homelander. So we're coming up on it.
That's why I think the stepping stone was the Blue Hawk moment. It's starting to show you the rage that's going on, like when it's pinpointed, and eventually they're going to get to Homelander, and it's going to be like a nuke going off.
Well, the Blue Hawk moment was showing heroes feel like they're untouchable. Like I do what I feel is right, no matter what you think, and there's nothing you can do about it, which is totally like, wow, that would be fucking scary.
And that's why I say that's like street level, and then you get up to the big leagues, level 99, and see what Homelander is capable of.
I wanted to ask the A-Train's friend who got hurt by Blue Hawk, and he didn't die, right? He's just in the hospital. They say he was paralyzed.
Is that his brother?
I'm not sure if it's his brother or not. I think it's just
they were real close in high school, and like they trained together or something of the sort. But he is, it's like spine damage by the sounds of it. May never walk.
Panda asks, what do you think A-Train's going to do to Blue Hawk? I think A-Train, to be honest with you, kills Blue Hawk, and I think that Homelander kills A-Train for it, to be truly honest, because it's all about ratings. And she says it is his brother. Okay, so wow, that makes it a little closer. I mean, it sucks for anybody, but but no, that's what I think. I think that A-Train's going to kill him. I think A-Train's going to kill him, and then there's going to be some kind of moment where he's fighting Homelander, and he's actually going to die because they put the seed in there that if he uses his speed again, his heart could explode. That's going to happen. Yeah. That's how he's going to die. Whether it be fighting Homelander or doing the right thing or something, I don't know yet, but that's how he's going to die.
It'll probably be doing the right thing too little too late. I mean, he's a real punk for what he did in this episode, killing the other speed dude, but he didn't kill him, but he ratted on him to Homelander, and Homelander killed him. But
that was the other one that I called right there. That guy, the Supersonic, was going to die. I knew. I was like, it'll come up at some point in time. I know it will. That was the other one I called. That he was going to die. I was like, that guy's gone. Which the beneficial part about him being gone is I don't hear that stupid "Baby You're 16" song ever again.
God, yes.
Every time I heard it, I was like, oh my god.
It was so late 90s.
Yes, Backstreet Boys. That's what it felt like. I was like, oh my goodness. Okay, so we got to talk about the Seth Rogen cameo here, which is absolutely hilarious.
It was so good and so on brand.
Yeah, it really was. I guess that what's her name? Scarlet, not Scarlet.
No, Crimson
Count
Crimson. I don't know, something of the sort.
Something like
I can't remember anything tonight. I'm sorry.
Soldier Boy's girlfriend.
There you go.
Apparently, I guess she's making a living now doing fans only or some kind of web video chat.
Monkey shit. I don't know, man.
People pay for you to, whatever. So, however you make your living, right? I feel like if I had superpowers, I could figure out something different. But
she had multiple superpowers because those things were big.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we do find out in this scene, though, that apparently everybody in what was the name of the group that Soldier Boy was in?
Oh, the Gunpowder and everyone were a part of?
Yeah, but that group, they all wanted him gone. Like this apparently was a plan to get him gone. And I did like they showed the scenes
Mutiny.
where what they're doing to him. Like, did you see they had the moment where they had that M16 or that weapon down his mouth and they were just fully
Yes.
unloading? I was like, man,
Yes.
that's crazy. Even if you had superpowers and that didn't kill you, that's like a dentist drilling in the back of your mouth all day, just
And
for
that's not even like the worst of it. Like the fact that, he is an atomic bomb now. They put all of that, like, they literally exposed him to like levels of radiation that like you can't, like, that would kill billions of people, not just millions.
Mhm. Yeah, Panda says that was the funniest bit ever. Seth Rogen fapping her in the heated beads. Yeah, they do such a good job with this one. And character, like picking Seth Rogen for that role, like you said, it was on point. Like he plays that position perfectly, or that role
Yep.
perfectly. Um,
It's just so funny. I mean, like they bring in the kinkiest shit in this show sometimes, and it's so good. Like it works. It
yeah.
works because everything in this show works because they teach you that nothing is off the table.
The only thing that seems like it's off the table right now is kids. It seems like everybody kind of has a thing about not wanting to off kids, and cool, I can respect that. Let's not step into that realm. But that is where we're left with there at the end, where Frenchie has got to. So Kimiko actually talks at the end of this episode. She speaks, and we get to hear her actually talk. And it's that moment where, like, okay, cool. It's right before you know something bad's about to happen. Because he was supposed to go do this job for the Russian chick, and he didn't. Right? And that's the whole thing. That's why they came for him. So as soon as he talks and she speaks for the first time, and they're having their moment, which it kind of surprised me. Like they kissed in this scene, and it was like the first time that I guess the two of them have like admitted that they loved each other. But I thought that was their whole thing to begin with, is that they were in love. Like,
it. I don't know if like the whole French thing has something to do with it, but I mean the fact that like he can be on a specific like romantic level with people without actually being like romantic with them, and then I mean it's a great quality to have because I mean you can be very personable, like completely 110% personable with someone without being in a relationship with them, and so I think that's what they were pushing towards because she wasn't the only one that he's had in his life like that. He was looking after her and like taking care of her. Seemed to be more of the parental style,
almost like a big brother type thing. Yeah.
And then it turned into, well, I mean, it's turned into at this point, like the moment that she said she wanted to go to Marseilles, however you want to say it, it kind of turned.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I want to get away with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's you and me like blow this popcorn stand and go do something.
Yeah. And while I love the characters in the show, if at the end of the season we can get it where they get to go do that, that'd be awesome. I just have a feeling that The Boys doesn't give us happy endings like that. Like, I got a feeling that one of them is going to be off at the end of the season, and it's going to be the reason why they stay in this business.
Well, I think Kimiko is going to be the tracking aspect of knowing how powerful Soldier Boy truly is. So when we see him at Crimson's place, when he blows that place up from afar, when Huey and Starlight are having their heated discussion, that that explosion looks massive,
huge, yeah, huge.
And then MM still survives, and then you got Butcher who had taken the V2, so like he was okay at the moment. But I mean, like, Soldier Boy's powers are climbing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Butcher used the Geiger counter to see if it was Soldier Boy that blew up the building in the city means that these things are like atomic bomb explosions.
Mm-hmm.
But if they pull people's powers like they did Kimiko's, then how long does that actually is that a lifetime thing?
Right.
Or is that just like a, or is your phaser set to stun? I mean, like are you just, is it just temporary?
Well, that's why I had that theory at the end of the season where they can defeat Homelander without killing him, where maybe he's powerless and captured, and then you get like that Magneto moment at the end where he moves the chess piece. Something like that, where it's like, okay, well, he's not completely powerless. Okay, the last 2 notes I have about this is I just think that MM's got PTSD, and I get that, but the part about the taking the V, dude, you need to relax. I get your moral standpoint, but you need to relax. One, because you just got your ass saved. The only reason you're alive is because of that. And two, while I understand your point of view, they are not wrong. You will not win this fight without it. You will not.
That's the
There is
struggle.
just no chance of winning
Yeah.
this. So if you want to, sometimes you have to sacrifice. And it sucks, man, because sacrificing your morals means you lose integrity. It really, but
it makes for great TV.
it makes for great TV. And Starlight needs to chill out. Like, for real. Like, let Huey do something, man. Like, you have no idea what it's like for this guy to always have to be, like he says in this episode, always have to be the guy who's the liability that can't do anything, that can't help. Now he can. Like, and he's risking his life anyway without the powers. So why would you not want to, at least if he's going to be there anyway, because he's always there, give him the advantage of being able to fight back or have the powers? He's 100% right. She's 100% wrong. I can understand an initial reaction like that, but she needs to chill out. Like, let the guy help, you know?
Don't take this the wrong way, but that is a very glass half empty point of view. And you're not wrong, because I mean the whole point of it is that both point of views need to be taken into it, because like you said, sacrificing your morals sucks. If you sacrifice them, then like what are you fighting for? What do you stand for? And so on and so forth. Like, all of that stuff truly does mean something. So the argument can be made 100% for both sides. I do think that they can't make it out of this season without the V, and that's why it's there, and that's why they're utilizing it, and that's why it's going to be an issue between them. But you have to also remember, like, this stuff was tested in a lab, but who knows, like, what it tested to what extremes, we got a whole country that refuses to truly adapt taking a shot in the arm because, like, shit hasn't been tested truly enough. I get it. I completely get it. No one knows long-term effects on that kind of stuff. But when you're fighting superheroes and super villains or whoever it is, you're going to go down at some point anyway. That's the side of the argument I can totally get from that point of view. You're going to go down. Why not go down fighting the absolute hardest that you possibly can? It's 100%. An uphill battle, so make sure that you come equipped for that fight. So yes,
and I get what you're saying. You're right. Like, it's experimental. You don't know what's going to happen with it. But at the same time, they've also had V in this universe for what, 60, 70 years now. So it's not as experimental, but it's also the difference of, like,
being temporary,
and you're taking this to literally save the world from destruction, not to make you feel better if you get a virus. But I mean, that's the only difference I would see in those two. But I do see the comparison there. But you're right. I look at a lot of things with a glass half full. That's my mind. That's kind of my motto in life, is the half full type deal. Because I kind of had that. What's the MJ quote in the movie? Like, if you never get your hopes up for anything, then you're never disappointed.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of my mindset in life. Like, I don't try to set my hopes up too high for a lot of things because I don't like a lot of disappointment. Which is why my newer aspect of going into shows a little more blind in movies and stuff like that without aspects is working out. You can't do that with all things in life. You've got to have a good positive outlook at a lot of things in life. But I tend to look at things a lot of times glass half full. So yeah, I can see that. I can totally get me doing that. But I don't know. Just for me, I get Starlight's point of view. I really do. I just feel like in this moment, like, we have things we have to handle. Let us handle it.
Completely sure.
So
I'm not saying that any one of them are right or wrong, because I mean, that's the whole point. That's what makes it turmoil, and that's what makes it interesting TV, is that the whole fact that you have to have that moral dilemma with yourself. At what point do you cross? When do you round the horn on that one? So, Oh, hey, Sarah.
God, Sarah, that is the absolute most perfect timing, because that was the last note I had on the boys, and I was like, oh no, what are we going to talk about till Sarah gets here? And yay, Sarah shows up. What's up?
You're in light.
I'm so thankful to have air conditioning.
I was gonna say, how does it feel to have AC?
It came on probably about, I'd say, about 10 minutes to 9. So,
Nice.
well, they were telling us it's gonna be like around 10 minutes to 9.
Uh-oh. The lights work, but does the internet? That's the question. Well, I mean, that's about actually. Yep. Oh,
Yeah,
there you
so
go.
that's what I'm saying. So I mean, yeah, we saw a lot of crews around town. So
Yeah.
I'll take what I can get.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make it. It's awesome you have power back.
I
Did you
know
food in the
because
fridge
I was the
okay
one
and
that kind of
everything?
pushed you guys for tonight, anyways. Because yesterday look, I had a rough time getting out of Birmingham. I didn't
Mhm.
think I thought I had to stay in Charlotte. I'm like, can I just go home and come home to no power?
Right. Yeah. It's the perfect end of the story. You know.
So
All
yeah,
right. Well, you're here. We have two more shows to talk about: Star Wars and Star Trek. Your choice. Where should we go?
let's go ahead and get Star Trek out of the way so you can like have your little Kenobi fandom because
I like that.
yes.
Yeah. Finish strong.
Yeah, exactly.
So, plus, you just didn't finish watching
I did.
Strange New Worlds, correct?
I did. I
Cool.
did.
Okay. I actually just watched it a couple hours ago myself, which hence why I sent you all that recent message of, yeah, this character's not working out for me, and we'll talk about that as we go on. But get us going. Star Trek this week. We're on episode what 7?
7.
Yeah.
Yes. It was interesting. It was I laughed a lot at this one. There was a little more humor in this. I think it was just kind of the I don't know, now we know of Pike as the Boy Scouts, which I'm like, and the little pompadour took a hit, so I was like, you can't be messing with that. But no, this was an interesting one. It's one of those episodes where it really played on Spock big time, especially the one scene in the beginning with the conversation between at that time counselor, talking about well you could be try to put in your box you either be this or this but you're not so exactly what are you? I'm like that sounds very reminiscent of today's world. So I was like, what? Are you non-binary? Is that what you're going to tell me? I mean, but So I
You
mean,
will
it was,
refer to
but there's,
Spock as they.
yeah, but I mean, that's always been the thing about Spock. It's always been the, was it the battle between the Vulcan and the human side?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I thought it was interesting. You're still playing into the, that theme that is, throughout. It's completely Spock but I thought it was interesting. It was a different play on that. It wasn't as in your face. But as we've kind of learned with Strange New Worlds, they kind of you can take a lot of their storylines and what they're talking about and kind of apply it to present day.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yes.
Because everybody has their opinions on that. But still, I just thought it was interesting because now if you're taking something that is that far into the future and, at least that way, with some people when they watch this, they can relate. Like, hey, I get that. I understand that. So that's another way of, kind of pulling somebody into, this world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the character, that chick looks sinister from like the first scene. I was like,
yeah.
Dude,
I
Angel
don't know
had
about
like
this
a
chick.
hella outfit.
She had kind of like Ella vibes going on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But
she has like this Jack Skeleton body.
Yeah, she's like, but that's what I'm saying. But she has, like I said, I got like I said, hella vibes because it was like, it was just this.
It was that black suit did it right off the bat. I mean, so when she was working out, like listening to the music, I'm like, I can relate to that, and I don't, that's not counselor music because I'm not a counselor by any damn means. But I can understand like working out as some like crazy like it was like trap hop. I don't know, and then to turn around and come out like decked out in like the mesh bodysuit.
Mesh was a big thing for her.
Yeah.
But another thing that was really interesting, especially when number one, like I said, that's a reoccurring theme throughout all Star Trek. You gotta have the captain, you gotta have number one, you gotta have all of these like top level,
command crew
officers That's who's gonna be your away team. I mean,
Mhm.
seriously.
Mhm.
But anyways, so when they get to the ship, and of course you see this green guy, I'm like, that's an Orion. I'm like,
You
okay,
talking
they
about
are.
one of the pirates?
Yeah, the one that had the beard.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, that's an Orion. I'm like, okay, you really are like going, deep into this, but
But he looks so TNG, like all like the heavier set figures from like that TNG time frame when they were on the show. You it's funny because you don't pay attention to like how body styles affect uh, the definition of time when the show is shot.
yes,
In this show, like everyone's like skinny and like we live in like a more health conscious world now. But like in TNG, like there was tons of like overweight people. When you get this pirate, I was like, that screams Next Generation to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I messaged y'all earlier. This character to Pring is not working for me. Spock's
she kind of
fiance.
goes back and forth with me because I didn't really like her when you first met her because I'm like,
Mm.
but she's Vulcan.
That's the issue with me, I think. I think that I don't like her because I'm not Vulcan. To be truly honest with you, that's what I think. I don't know why, but when I see
You have to be
Spock,
100% logic. It's
Yeah.
all logic.
and
There's
that's
You
no
maybe
feel
why
bad
I don't
because
like
she
the
would never
character.
date you because you don't have pointy ears. I see where this is
Well,
going.
I wear earphones. Everybody who looks online doesn't know what my ears look like, but but no, I don't know. And this character is just she's a weird character. Like I said, I think that the problem I have is totally on me. It's because I don't like the character because she does a good job of no emotion, and I want to see emotion in a character. And then that, like I said, it's all on me. The actress does a great job. It's just the character doesn't work for me, and the relationship doesn't work for me. Like it
Well, what's
really
funny?
doesn't. Like I don't like them doing this kind of almost forced relationship between her and Spock. Neither one of them seems like they're really into it, and they're betrothed, right? So I guess it doesn't really matter. But I think in most cultures you get a choice once you're betrothed, right? Don't you? Like, do
Well, I
you
mean,
get?
it gave them the choice because I mean they broke it off, right?
Well, that's another thing I wanted to ask. Did they break it off?
Sure, it sure seemed like that was pretty like official with their hand signals. Like I don't know how you marshal that plane in and land with those kind of hand signals, but
Yeah.
what was funny with to your point, she's already going out of her comfort zone, dating a half human, half Vulcan,
Right.
or
Mhm.
being betrothed to.
because we
But
established that in episode 4 last.
Well,
Because
in
Right.
when
this
they
one
did
too,
that
she's
little,
trying to explore human sexuality in this episode.
because she's trying to understand his human side. She has
Right.
finally understood he does have and for a Vulcan Vulcans are very, they don't take to any other type species, I don't want to say species or race or whatnot,
yeah, no,
intermingling
species.
within theirs. They're very
It's
pure.
almost racist. Really, if you think about it,
Yeah,
they're
I mean
point
it
racist.
is because it's they're like 100% logic. I mean that's any race or species or whatnot that is controlled by emotion. They don't understand it because they have gone out of their way to take emotion out of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's I would say it's culturalist for that point of view right there.
Yes.
Because
yeah.
no one else looks to that point of view because they're so hard up on it. Even descendants that are close to Vulcans, like Romulans, like they don't hold the same type of values. They
Right.
don't hold that same type of thing. But even they mentioned the fact that Spock is pre-colon R in this time right now.
So he still has the emotions.
Yeah, he's still at that point, and they mentioned that for that reason. If you choose to purge all of that, then that's when you become part of that cult, like completely 100% devout to the Vulcan way.
Mm.
It's crazy because what you have with T'Pring dating him is that the way that she sees things is not the same as the way that she's trying to live her life. With dating Spock and him being, half human and half Vulcan, it's very weird because it's like she's going way out of her comfort zone for it, but you don't see that on her face because she's Vulcan.
Right.
Same thing that like we saw in the Kelvin timeline with Spock's dad. You don't. He dated, married, had a child with a human, and to him, the things that he said in that very first Star Trek movie were what made it acceptable. Kind of like sometimes you just have to let logic run its course. Like you have to like sit back and like let Jesus take the wheel and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's almost like Spock's dad is kind of like T'Pring in this kind of situation.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. Yeah. The way they do emotion in this show is great. Like even with I loved in this episode with Spock in the one scene where he has to make a choice where it's just a 50-50 chance, man. You pick the wrong one, you get it wrong. You saw how physically uncomfortable it makes him to make a choice that is not a logical choice. Like it was physically hurting him. It's like having restless leg syndrome. There's nothing you can do about it. You just got to deal with it, And he's like, "Oh, I loved that. That was pretty cool." I did notice that whenever they were, this is whenever she's Counselor Aspen before she's Captain Angel or whatever. She's talking about how you do not want to be captured by these people. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why? Because they're gonna make them dinner. Like what about these pirates has been so bad? Besides the fact that they did get on your ship, but up to that point they hadn't. And it's like, well, what about them is so bad? They've captured your captain and everything, and they're not even being rude to him. They're making them make dinner. Like, what's so bad about it? But it just shows the gullibility of Starfleet. Like 100% gullible, and they seem to fall victim to everybody that they encounter, which is really, really weird for Starfleet. There were 2 choke points whenever they got invaded. And Ross, when I saw this, I thought about I was like, I got to bring this up to Ross. In the command center, in there on the what's the bridge? There's 2 entrances. You have about 12 people in there, all armed with cover. 2 choke points. 2 choke points. How do you let anybody through those 2 doors? Like seriously, how do you let anybody through with 5 guns on each door? And a 3-foot opening. How does anybody get through those 2 doors?
And they came up with a turbo lift with no access. They don't have ship access.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the best part is when they scream battle stations, everyone ducked in cover like they're in school, and the Russians are going to bomb them.
Odd, yeah.
I was like, "You're going to hide behind your chair?
Yeah.
What?
And they're not even stop them.
What are we doing?"
Yeah. So funny, man.
Tactically, there could be a whole lot more things that happen here, but I will say that the captain and the crew, which I don't understand why Umbenga and like number 1, like all like you said, why do you send down that as your party?
Right.
At some point, it's either captain or number 1, first and foremost. If someone's going to go down and lead, or like your chief security, or your you send one of the heads. And then from there, you send red shirts.
It makes for a better story.
The scene on that planet is so good. I love every bit of them being on the ship. My bad, not the planet. The scene of them being on that ship it's gold to me. I don't know why.
It was very Guardians of the Galaxy-ish, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't it feel a little Guardians of the Galaxy?
I don't care. That just made me love Pike even more because
Pike was so good.
Number 1, they go into it, and he tells Helmsman, like, okay. She's like, how do you want to go in? Like a first or second date? He's like, no, like a blind date. I'm like,
I like that.
I mean, like,
okay. I love
that.
That was good too. I put that on there too.
Mm-hmm. I did like they pulled the Alpha Braga 4, which is the mutiny. I'm like, okay, cool. I do love how they have clever things that like solutions to things they do in these shows. It's really, really fun. But it was
the
cool.
best part about that one was that they ended it even better. The ending of like them getting shot at and like, hey, we need to really get out of here. Like, we pushed this a little too fast.
It's like, yeah, because when you first see him, it's like, oh yeah, the cavalry came. And then it's like, can y'all speed this up a little bit because it's about to get really dicey right now.
All right, so at the end of this episode, we do get introduced to a new big bad who I guess is probably going to be introduced maybe further down in seasons, or he may be just something at the end of this, and it looks like we're looking at Spock's brother.
Yeah.
Is it Cybok? Is
Yep.
the guy's name? Interesting. I knew nothing about this character, so this is all new for me. Is this a new character or a character we have history of from the past?
I think there was introduced or mentioned of in Star Trek 4. I don't know. I had to go back and look and find out exactly because it seems like I remember hearing a half brother, but it was not really something because since it was like the original story or like the original series, a lot of stuff in the original series, especially the original series movies, didn't really stick with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go back and look, and I'm like, okay, but I had heard the name before.
Okay, so he's Spock's half brother, full Vulcan, but has refused the Vulcan way of life.
Right, it's what they call the Vatosh Couture. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like basically where they're. It's just another way. It's like totally somewhat, like against saying, "Hey, look, I know what you guys are doing, but I'm not good with that." It's just like the Vulcan that T'Pring was after in the episode where she and Spock switched. That guy that they were looking for, that's basically his thought or what he was doing.
He's
almost like a free thinker of Vulcan.
Yeah, it's like it's where you're not really embracing the 100% of like the full logic. It's because Vulcans, they do experience emotion. Mm-hmm. It's just the fact of the matter, they go through all the meditation to suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, like Sarek, his father, like in the later episodes of Next Generation, he was going through, I forgot what it was called, but he was basically, that suppression was breaking down. So he would have like emotional outbursts. And
that's right. Yeah.
It's kind of like almost like the opposite. It's almost like a Vulcan Alzheimer's, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go through dimension, like you're losing it.
Yeah.
You're losing it.
Yeah. So it's like you're losing that hold on that suppression that you have learned your entire life, to work on, because that's why they go meditate. It's like, okay, I'm gonna keep it down. And that's why it's so difficult for Spock, because he's not fully Vulcan. So you still have these human, you just have that human side that just wants to come out. And imagine, even though the Vulcans, because the Vulcans, if they didn't do the medication, they do have very, very strong emotions.
All right. Oh, yeah.
So that's something that that's a really hard bridge to gap between, straight human emotion. And that's why he and Spock and Kirk were so interesting, because, Kirk was like 100% emotion.
Right.
100%.
What good reason why they work well together. They both have a full grasp on both ends of the spectrum. So, okay, I have two last questions about this show, and then we can talk about whatever else you want to with it. One is, do you think T'Pring knows that this character she was about to release is Spock's brother? Do you think she has knowledge of that?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if she knows either.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think if she did, I don't know if she would have, if it would have changed her opinion at all, to be honest with you, because it doesn't change who he is, doesn't change how dangerous he is. He was obviously
I don't
a dangerous
think anyone
person.
knows the gravity of the situation.
Yeah, and two, we did see them in their relationship after the little kiss with the doctor, or the nurse, which, by the way, she's been wanting for a while. She enjoyed that. But then they get back together, and she's like, well, I knew you were doing that for this reason. So are they back together? Like, was that like, okay, I played along with it, and I saw what was happening, so I just went ahead, which I thought was really, really funny. That was like, well, we're broken up now. So guess what? Your little trick's not going to work. It's like, what? So you're broken up all of a sudden, so now she just doesn't give a shit about him anymore? Like,
well, that's where the logic comes. That's where the logic comes into play, because
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's right. He was her responsibility because they were engaged, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they became not engaged anymore, he's no longer her responsibility. So logic dictates that she should just leave. Right. Okay, that makes sense. I got to start thinking like that when I'm watching.
You got to think logically.
Too much like that.
Logically.
Cool. Yeah. I don't like thinking logically.
It's painful. Yeah. I will tell you that.
Yeah, thinking emotionally is too, though.
I don't know, but Nurse Chapel, she when Spock went to talk to her, he can't read the room because it was written all over her face.
Dude, the level at which she portrays Nurse Chapel is phenomenal. I mean, like, the little bit that Nurse Chapel had in the original series, I mean, like, it provided a starting point for this character, and this girl is running with it to a point that is wonderful. I mean, like, everything that she's had in this season, I've loved. I have loved every bit of her on screen.
She reminds me of a person that, like, I always want to have around. Like, whenever I'm doing anything to go hang out or do anything fun, like, yeah, bring her along because she's always going to make it more fun. You know,
but it's non-committal. Like, it's
she reminds me of Sarah Taylor. There you go.
The only fall for Vulcans.
You what?
So I'm not gonna fall for Vulcans.
The only other thing that I was thinking of that I thought was pretty good, all the little quips in the show were really good. In this episode are really good. But they mentioned, she was having the conversation, or Spock was having the conversation about how, what was it? Oh, he was blaming his troubles on being Vulcan and human. And someone said, or I think it was Nurse Chapel, was like, you're just saying that because, like, you're blaming genetics. Like, you might as well just be blaming geography.
That was
that was Dr. Ashley. We had with the counselor.
The counselor.
Yeah, the counselor. Because he was like, but I was raised on Vulcan. She was like, well, that's just geography.
It's the same but I thought that breakdown was really like, hey, like, shut up and, like, take a step back. Like, pay attention to what you're saying, because what you're saying right now makes no sense. And that's something, like, for me, like, I always need to remember too. You know, like, with certain conversations I have, I'm like, whoa, like, I'm way too in a conversation, and it should just be, like, on the surface. And I think that was really good. That's like a nice little reminder.
Oh yeah, take a step back and look at what read the room, see what's going on.
And talking about reading the room, if Pike can't read the room, I don't know anybody else who can.
They separate him from Kirk in such a tasteful way. So good.
Because it's like you look at him sometimes because you're like, okay, Pike's a main character. Sometimes he feels like a secondary because he kind of sits back and like I said, he's reading what's going on. Then that's when he steps into the forefront. And I think I absolutely love it.
Well, even at the end, whenever he's sitting in the captain's chair and he's like, "Arr!" Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
I was like, all right, cool, I see that. And number one's like, can you please stop?
She's like, yeah, don't. No.
That could have been the last time where they made a date comment and like, we're never going to make it to a first date if you keep doing that.
Yeah. I like how you compared this part of space to the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Too. I was like, oh, cool. That's that's an old reference. That'd be like me comparing something to the Roman times.
Well, you got to think about it too, because at this point in time, the Federation is not as widespread as from TNG or Voyager or DS9,
right?
Because it's just getting started. So, and the thing about it too is, like, every time they talk about Klingons, I'm like, are we going to see Klingons? I want to see Klingons in this show. I want to see the Klingons in this. Now. I know, but that's the thing about it, because it's like you've got the Vulcans that they first started like kind of like the Federation with, and then of course there's the other ones they've added, but it was always the Romulans and the Klingons have always been like the big enemies, the big baddies. They're the ones that you don't want to mess with. Yep. And it's always been that thing. So
I think if the show is going to have legs, that they're going to have to push it off to another season.
Yeah.
I think they're going to.
That's perfect, because, I mean, that's what Star Trek fans want. Same thing that like Star Wars fans want, is that you still are landed in your universe, but you get it in a different way. Mm-hmm. And so in the Star Trek show, even though it's new old, you still want to see how you get from TOS to TNG. Like let's see how those things happen. Like let's see the stuff in between. Even though we haven't even made it to Kirk yet, we still want to see all the legwork.
Well, see that, and that's the thing about it too, because a lot of times, like with Star Wars, you do have a lot of the book canon. With Star Trek, that's a little more a gray area, because you still have, like I said, you can still connect the dots between Pike and Kirk, because really you don't know anything prior other than the little tidbits that the original series gave you, as far as anything prior to Kirk.
Yep.
Well, where Star Trek and Star Wars differ so much is like Star Trek or Star Wars takes like this universe, okay, and it chronologically puts things in this order. I'm not saying Star Trek doesn't, but like it focuses on points in history, like 40, 50, 60-year spans in history, and tells a story across tells one big story across multiple stories in that span of history. Star Trek puts you in this point in history, but it tells you a bunch of stories that don't like all lead together into the like one culminating story. Like this is what happened during this time. This is this time period. In Star Wars, it's like basically like if Star Trek, you could miss like part of like these stories and still continue on and have enough to go on. With Star Wars, like you kind of need to know what happened in this era to find out what's going on in this era. I think Star Trek's a little easier for somebody just to right off the ground, pick up and run with.
Star Trek's kind of like, if you look at it this way, it's like, okay, this is what happened within like a couple of days to a week.
Yeah.
Star Wars is like the time period is a little longer.
Right.
I'll tell you. I mean, I'll give you a hot take though. I'd rather live in Star Trek than Star Wars.
How about the thing about when you look at the engineering and you see, I'm like, that's not what the original. I mean, I get it, the original series was in the 60s, but still, you're like, that kind of technology, I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, like, in a little tight situation, be like, I'm just going to beam my little stuff into a ship and just go off my little business.
That is one really cool thing. I don't know which one I'd want to be in, to be truly honest with you, because I'm not going to lie, man. The Force and lightsabers is a strong, strong argument that can beat just about anything.
You can say that, but when you are 0.0000001% possible of becoming a Jedi,
agreed.
Do you want the greater good?
Agreed. Yeah, and that's the argument point. So why it would be so difficult? Because there are a lot of really cool things about Star Trek. Yeah, a lot of really cool things about Star Wars.
That's why we can have both.
That's exactly why we can have both.
That's why I tell you, if you ever sit down and watch The Expanse, it would tell you what our possible future is more like in reality. I'm going to keep pushing the show until you watch it. You got to watch it.
I need to get Ashley on. If I get Ashley on that show, we'll end up watching. Look, I'll tell you what. Just give me a TIE fighter, a lightsaber,
and beaming technology,
and you can throw me in the Star Trek universe with a TIE fighter and a lightsaber, and I think
TIE fighter is what you're gonna go with,
dude. It's the best It's the best Star Wars ship out there. Are you kidding me? It's just an old school original TIE fighter. Hell yeah! Hard to hit, fast, looks badass. Makes that noise when it passes by. Like
I feel like we just reached a divide. Did we just reach a divide?
Hey man, a TIE fighter is my overall favorite ship. I think it's an old school TIE fighter.
Oh.
Yeah. It'd be hard to hit if I was flying it. I'll tell you that.
You know what? You want fan interaction? You go post this stuff on
Hey, I said that on the Star Wars. I put it out there. Old school TIE fighter, best ship out there. I like that stuff. X-wing's up there too. It's just an original old school. Although I like Poe's X-wing. Every time I go to buy an X-wing model, I always see Poe's, and I'm like, it looks so much cooler.
I would take Voyager any day. Any day.
Oh, I mean, you're talking about a ship with massive amount of people on it. Close range fighters versus starships.
I see. So what's your starfighter you get from Star Wars then, Ross? I gotta know since my TIE fighter was. It's got to be a starfighter though, not like a cruiser or a big ship.
It's got to be a small one.
Yeah.
Like
one or two people.
Like a one man?
Yeah, one or two people.
I mean, it's a hard difference between... I like the Jedi starfighters, and I also like... I mean, there was something when Episode 1 came out, and those Naboo fighters were sleek as shit.
The all silver ones? Or the yellow and silver ones? Yeah. That's right. What's her name? Had the all silver ship. Yeah, I remember building models of those too. We had those when we were younger. those are cool ships. But like I said, man, just a TIE fighter does it for me. You know, it's got to be because of watching when I was younger. But it's a cool looking ship too. You know,
I gotta have a holodeck. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
I hear you.
For big ships, I would say so.
I gotta have a holodeck.
Yeah,
You could go live any fantasy. You could live out any Westworld fantasy that you want to, since that season is about to drop sometime next weekish or something.
that's one thing that I don't see much on Star Trek is individual starfighters. It's always big cruiser ships.
They're shuttles. Yeah,
Shuttles,
starfighters.
yeah. Interesting.
Now the Defiant, the one that you saw on DS9, that was a nice little
Oh,
That was
I
a
haven't
nice
thought about that in a minute.
because normally you'd have like little
Yeah.
shuttlecraft, but really and honestly, you had smaller class ships, but for the most part, a lot of these, they were more like the battleships. It was like you came in, it's like we're gonna end this, we're gonna start and finish this right here. We're not playing.
Right.
We're not playing.
Right.
So a lot of times it's like because you had the phasers, the photon torpedoes, and all this kind of stuff. So really, smaller ships or smaller little fighters really didn't stand a chance. I mean,
This show actually does a really good job of that.
Mhm.
Like it shows how like all these little ships. I mean, how many in space battles have we had in this show so far? None of them have been big center focuses. I mean,
Mhm.
they've been big for the episode, but they're not like
It's
all
like little
encompassing.
skirmishes. It's like it's like
Exactly.
little ant. It was like little like bugs
Yeah.
hitting the windshield.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think about the last Calvin Timeline Star Trek movie and how just the complete destruction of the Enterprise on that one. It's like, wow.
It's been so long since I've seen that movie. I had to watch it again.
Oh,
I have
think
to
got
watch it
torn to
again before
shreds,
the next
man.
one comes out.
Torn to effing shreds. So
Well, there's been plenty of enterprises that have been destroyed.
I was just gonna say the Enterprise shouldn't be called the Enterprise. It should be called the Replica. Because they just keep making more of them.
That's why you have like the different, like D and
mhm. Oh yeah.
you have different different ones.
But let's be honest, they'd be halfway through the alphabet by now.
Easily. Double letters.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yep.
But I mean, there's like a huge fleet of other ones. So I mean, it's it's not just Enterprise. It's just Enterprise has always been like especially in this one, it's like the flagship. But I mean, if you think about, what was it? Picard came off the Stargazer. You
Yep.
got oh my gosh. And I'm almost through. I don't know what the book is. I'm almost through the Coda series. The
Oh,
new series
nice.
came out. So I'm almost. Dude, that's some crazy shit right there.
You're
Don't,
gonna need to run down. Hope you're taking
Greg.
notes.
Greg. Don't. No, you don't. It is
No?
time travel. No.
Uh-oh.
no.
Uh-oh.
No.
I don't like it.
No, I mean, it's got an interesting take on it, but I'm really interested to see how book 3 ends because I have a feeling I'm going to get a little emotional over it.
Good book then.
So,
Tells you that much. Good book.
well, like I told you guys before, it's 3 books. It's written by 3 different authors. The third book is authored by David Mack, which he's the one that did the I can't remember the series, but there's like another trilogy that I absolutely adore. I've probably read it 3 times, and so it's really interesting to see because he's like one of my favorite ones. I mean, he's got a grasp on what's going on.
Yeah.
But put it this way, you have Wesley as the traveler in this one, and he's pretty much one of the main characters that kind of flows through it. So that's why I was really excited to see him in, the second season of Picard.
Yeah.
Even for like a split second, but I was like,
nice little tie-in. Oh, yeah, I like that.
And there's a lot of other, there's been a lot of other tie-ins that I've seen or I've read in this series that kind of, it's pulled in like Discovery and Picard. There's been like Discovery is pulled in, it's mentioned certain things from that. So I'm like, okay, we've got a little world we're here talking about. Okay, this is great.
It's about time.
I know, right? I mean, it's because a lot of the books and stuff I've read has always been it's always after Nemesis, because Nemesis is pretty much just like, okay, this this is the end right here because that was the last Star Trek movie, in the prime timeline. So, and everything just kind of gravitates off of that because like Riker is the captain of the Titan, and the Titan you don't really know that much about, but I've read that canon, so I've got to know all the officers and whatnot on that one. So that's really cool. But I would love for them to do some kind of series like based off of that. That would be freaking cool.
There you go. Write you one.
But
That's the way to do it. Write you one. Make it happen. Do it myself. Well, did y'all have anything else Star Trek y'all wanted to talk? So before we hop into the different star universe here and talk about our penultimate.
Is still in progress.
Well, let's do it then. Let's hop into Obi Wan. Let's get into this penultimate. We got one episode left. We finally got our Hayden Christensen cameo.
And I'm glad because everybody was talking about, is that all we're going to see? We're just going to see him in the Baki tank? Is that it?
That was me. I was that guy. That was me.
Expectations. Same exactly. Conversation we keep having.
Exactly. I didn't care if that's all I saw. I'm like,
it didn't take me out of it. Yeah, I agree. I didn't care either, but I was wondering. I was like, they made a big deal about Hayden Christensen.
What this is doing with me, and it's crazy because I was talking to a friend of mine about this. It's okay when you first meet Vader in A New Hope, of course, Star Wars. I'm like, to me, it was like this faceless character. It was a badass, but I didn't have a face. So when finally you got to Return of Jedi, and they finally took it off, and I'm like, okay, it's this old dude, and I'm like, okay, you see a face. I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, whatever, I figured that kind of whatever. So now you go back to the prequels, and you meet Anakin. You follow through his story. Anakin, I'm like, oh, he's cool. For some reason, I've always liked Anakin versus Luke. I don't know what it is with what he had going on, his downfall. Maybe it's just the fact that he, ended up being a Sith Lord. I don't know because
that's probably it. You knew more about his end game.
Yeah, and I mean, and maybe that's what it was because now for me, it's like when I see Vader, the helmet, I'm like, I see Anakin, and I'm like, I get that. So it kind of hits a little different. So now to go back with Kenobi, and especially that third episode, you finally see him. You see, the Anakin that I guess the younger Anakin versus the older Anakin, because I think sometimes it might hit a little bit more so because I'm like, you vested so much in this character, even though it was Hayden Christensen. Like you have this face, you kind of you work with that. Even Clone Wars. It still looks like him. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, I've got this picture in my face or a picture in my head, and to see that, and now I'm like connecting the two. So that's why a lot of times now it's even in this episode to see what you saw, and it's like you're connecting those dots for me even more so. It's like I have more of a I'm more vested into it, I guess. Mm-hmm. So now when I see A New Hope, I'm like, that's Anakin. That's Anakin.
Right. And that's the reason why they do this, is to make you more invested in that character. Exactly. Yeah. So
it's working. I'm going right down the rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
There's something I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't care.
Yeah, everything that you said is where I'm at. The Clone Wars gave us a story. Mm-hmm. And it gave us, Clone Wars is really good. Greg, I told you before, if you ever get a chance to go back and watch it chronologically, it's even a better story because, it's chronological. You get to see it happen.
I watched all of Clone Wars.
So, but watching, it all chronologically helps you understand, how they get from 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But what's difficult is they told the story of the prequel so fast. The same thing they did for episode 4, 5, and 6. They told the story of the prequel so fast that you wanted more. And yes, Hayden Christensen looks older. The lines in his face, you can't change that. But at the same time, the look was there,
Mhm.
and I'm on board with that. And that's all that I needed was the look. Having that fight between the two of them, that fight alone, that one moment that they chose to do a flashback to, was so full of. I mean, the connotations that were there were ridiculous.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
You want to see that. You want to understand, like, how did the kid turn into the man that wears the mask? And that's why I'm with you. Like, I understand that, Vader
Mhm.
is a deeper character. Anakin is a deeper character because of that. Because
Mhm.
you know where he ends up, you know what he does. And they give you the key plot points in the prequels. But man, if you don't just I thrive for the stories of like the stuff that happens in between.
Mhm.
I love the seeing the lightsaber battle, and I love seeing him come back, and I love seeing Obi Wan try to point out, like, hey, you can't do that
Mhm.
because when you do that, it does this,
Right.
and you can't have you can't be that kind of you can't be the asshole kid. You gotta shape up.
But you
Right.
know what? What was interesting to me, and it kind of hit me this way, especially when in this episode when you did see Anakin and Obi Wan spar, and even though it looked like an older Anakin, to me, I felt like it hit a little bit differently because now you know where he's going. To me, his look was 100% foreshadowing
Mhm.
Yeah,
because
sinister.
it's like you know what I mean. Even with you can tell that he was older because I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, but to me, it was just like there were certain ways when he came at when he was attacking Obi Wan, and it was just like you saw this look. I'm like, it just the fact that he did have this older look to me, it was 100% foreshadowing.
Mhm.
Yep.
If that
Yeah,
makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
totally.
So
Well,
it's almost like he's not like this young, fresh faced Padawan. It was like you see the machinations already beginning.
It's like when they try to show the dark side
mhm.
in animation.
Exactly.
That's what it was like.
Exactly.
Well, there's two things about that scene. One, that scene right there made the whole show for me. Like that was something I needed to see. I needed to see Anakin and Obi
That's
Wan
why they
together.
brought him back.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, 100%. I needed that, man. It was so great. And you're right. I don't care about him looking a little bit older. I do have a question about though about the timing of this fight in this scene because he does say that's why you're still a Padawan, and doesn't he become a doesn't he's not a Padawan
He is a
after the
Jedi
end of
in
episode
episode
2,
3.
right? I thought the end of
But
episode 2
this
was
was
Star Wars.
Clone War era.
In episode 2, he had no.
It was the beginning of 3 that they
In
gave him that
episode
title.
3, he was a Jedi Knight.
Okay. So this must have been in that time period. But Ross, you're exactly right, man. It nails it right on the head. The prequels were so great and such a great story, but it was rushed. And the fact that you get to see, like, okay, the end of episode 2, you see good Anakin with the seed planted in his head about bad stuff, being evil, the dark side, all this stuff. Then you get to episode 3, and he's right on the brink of turning. You don't get any story in between there as to how he got there unless you watch Clone Wars, which is awesome because then you get to see that a little bit of that development of him into that. I mean, and then you get this now, so you get to see that even further. So for people like us who are bigger fans, it's awesome to see that because the prequels did feel rushed. I love the prequels, but they did feel rushed because this part of the story between episode 2 and episode 3 is the most interesting part of Star Wars that we've seen on screen. I still think that the Old Republic stuff could be more interesting or could be really, really fun to watch. I don't know about more interesting, but it could be really fun to watch. But what we've seen on screen is that period of time right there. For me, that's the heart and soul of Star Wars.
It's filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That right
It's
there.
100% filling in the blanks, and that is what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking about with the MCU and the Disney Plus shows.
Mhm.
They tell stories that they can't tell anywhere else. Look at what Star Wars is doing with their television. You couldn't have done this in movies and told the story that they were telling without making multiple movies, which, look, at the end of the
6,
day,
7 years. Yeah.
why would you not make multiple movies? But I get it. People age and you have to tell a story and, finances fall through and, like, literally, like, that kind of stuff dictates what you can and can't make. When you can make a show, I mean, what are we talking? Like a third of how fast you used to be able to make a movie,
Mm-hmm.
you can make a show in a matter of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
8, 10, 12, however many weeks, and then you turn around and spend another 6 to 8 weeks editing it. It's out on TV.
Right.
I mean, you can't do that. Now you can. And now that you can, we can get these stories. We can get all of this filler. And all that we need is the people to come back, because all that you need is glimpses.
Mm-hmm.
If they plan this out well enough,
Well,
they can make this work out fantastic.
100% they can. Yep. Okay, so we've broken down our love for Star Wars and the love for the shows. Let's break down this episode a little bit. Go through a few scenes in this. Opening scene, third sister gets her pin. She gets her blood wings. There you are, Grand Inquisitor. And we saw this coming at this time. Now, we did also mention in the first episode, when the Grand Inquisitor is killed by third sister, we didn't see a body.
Everyone, yeah.
We always talk about that. We didn't see a body. We just saw him fall.
I mean, for the love of God, Maul got halved and came back. So
Exactly. So
I present to the court figure number 1.
I mean, think about it though. In theory, with a lightsaber, it cauterizes all wounds. If you went through somebody's torso and didn't,
but
hit,
you don't know the
destroy any
physiology
vital
of his
organs.
species, though.
True, very true.
So
Yeah.
it may not have hit anything vital.
That's what I'm saying. If it didn't and it cauterized everything, then maybe you just don't die. Maybe you're just really, really
Stick
hurt.
him in a back tank.
Unless Kamika's there to put another hole in his body, I don't understand how he poops, and I don't understand that as a logical sense. So I don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But with that being said, I cannot believe, based on the fact that she thinks she killed the Grand Inquisitor in the first episode, and it looked like he died, that at the end of this episode, the Grand Inquisitor and Vader just leave her there. They just leave her. They're like, you know what?
Yeah.
Just suffer. It's like, what?
Figure it out.
It's like,
Figure
why
it
would you not kill her, right? Why would you? It is so contrived a story. Why would you not kill her? Darth Vader would not walk away from you. When you just tried to kill him, would not walk away from you. Laying there.
There's so much
with
that I
the
want to say
weapon.
about that fight.
Yeah.
Actually, there's not, but it's very simple what I want to say about that fight.
Do it.
How do you make a mostly limbless Anakin Skywalker go from being burnt on Mustafar to becoming Vader to what he turns into Episode 4? He is powerful in Episode 4, but he is nowhere near as powerful as he is in this fight with Reva.
Yeah, in this fight, Reva, he's like, just pushing her. Like I was like, holy shit, Vader is just pushing her around.
You could put MC Hammer's Too Legit to Quit on this, and he would just be making hand signals the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was sitting there like, what is happening right now?
I honestly believe a lot of this maybe is just that raw, like, just like that raw power. Like it's not really controlled. It's like raw, uncontrolled.
Yeah.
So I think by the time you see it
that.
in, A New Hope, it's like, I don't have time for this shit. I'll force choke somebody because you're being stupid. But as far as like cat and mouse games, no.
And that's a good explanation. But I think the more logical explanation is that movie was made in the 70s. Late 70s.
That's another
It's
thing
hard
too.
to portray really badass powers. Have you ever gone back and watched the remastered, like remake of the Obi Wan and Vader fight from A New Hope that somebody did online?
The FX or VFX
that is the way it should have been done. But because of the timing the movies were made, you couldn't portray powers like that. Now you can.
I'll be dead honest with you. That episode, that version of that fight is my headcanon of how they fight.
that version of that fight is all. Sarah, have you ever seen that? The remake of Vader and Kenobi and A New Hope, the fight? It's like the two new actors totally redid the whole fight.
Send it to
freaking amazing.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah. But I think that is part of it. Now you can write it in like Sarah's saying, and I think that's how you write that into the story to make it.
Well, it's like case in point too. It's like, after all that, with you go back to Clone Wars and you put Ahsoka, you add Ahsoka to the story, and it's not just a Padme that kind of approached him too, because I feel like it was just more than just her. So it's like and that's the great thing about going back, because you're adding more to it to where it to me, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
So, like I said, now it's like here is, yeah, you're being about me. Him just walking, walking through, previous episodes, and it's just like causing all kinds of just straight havoc. He's like, I'm gonna just torture this whole damn town.
Well,
It just felt
when
weird.
we got, oh yeah,
like that's all that. There was just something about the, I don't know. There's just something about watching him wave his arms. Like I'm like, when I have never seen that before, it was new, and new is not what I need from Vader.
right.
Like Vader degrades because he's less of a man. Like Anakin is less of a man than he was. Like his peak of becoming like the balance, no matter which way did you actually see it, was like him losing to Obi Wan. It wasn't him becoming Vader. Him becoming Vader was like a result of it.
Right.
To me, in my head, like that's how I imagine it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think part of the reason too that one, besides it looking badass, I mean, think about it. At the end of Rogue One, that Vader scene, it wasn't Rogue One with the Vader scene where he's slicing lights. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, Vader's so badass." One, you have to top that, okay. And two, I think it portrays the image of Obi-Wan's warning Reva. He's like, "Look, you don't know what you're dealing with. You will not win this fight." And then maybe it's to the point where, okay, I've seen Vader for this long. I've been studying. I know everything he can do. And then she learns, I don't know shit about what he can do. Like, this guy's way more powerful than I ever said. I thought it looked awesome, though. I really did it. Like I said, it's almost like he's like air bitch slapping her. Because he's just waving his hand around and moving along. That's pretty fucking awesome.
Well, it's just like, I kind of want to talk about the scene, where, Rebel was, giving her backstory, in essence. I think we kind of all understood that's the way it was going. As her being a youngling in the temple.
The opening episode.
Yes. And it was just kind of like, but that was another thing of this episode that absolutely gave me chills, because it's another viewpoint of Order 66. And to know that these kids, younglings or not, force sensitive or not, they still looked up to, they knew who Anakin was. And to see him coming in, they're like, oh, you're going to save us. And then, but the look on his face, it was like, could you imagine seeing him come just bearing down? Oh, yeah. And the next thing you know, he flipped that saber on, and it was like.
Well, it's her describing it too, where she's talking about, I hid among the dead bodies and played dead.
And you know what?
It's so sad. Which I'm not gonna lie. In a situation like that, y'all, that's one of the first things I'd probably do too, because I know I'm not winning that fight. Just play dead. Maybe they won't come back and re-kill you.
And the sad thing about it, in this day and time, it has happened.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's just, but it was just, but then you got to see her emotion. It's like, it's, and now you understood why, she was. It's like the whole revenge factor, because she was 100% blaming everyone. She's like, where were you? And I don't know about you fellas, but I'm like, I think he had his hands full at that point in time.
Yeah, well, she didn't know that, but yeah.
But that's the thing about it. So she's like blaming him. But that's the thing about Sith. It's never your fault. It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
You push me. It's your fault. It's like if you're, that whatever. But.
You just said it. Like in today's culture, there's these things are mirrored. When something happens that's extremely sad and detrimental, what people say is, well, what kind of house did they grow up in? What were their parents like?
It's always somebody else's fault. Exactly.
Right.
There's a reason that justifies why they did what they did.
When you say why, look, from our point of view, what we know about this universe is, number one, when Qui-Gon said you have to train the kid, everyone in the theater is like, no, you don't. No, you don't have to train that kid. You can let that kid die. It's fine. Let him die. It's okay. Anakin is turmoil in a box. You don't need to wrap that shit or anything. Just leave it. Don't touch it. Maybe burn it. Who knows? But what would you do? What would you do if you knew that Obi-Wan trained the person that ultimately killed everyone that you knew?
Oh, yeah. I can get
And that's the sad thing about it, because Obi-Wan was just as flawed as anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think that was his, Anakin's betrayal to him, because he's like, I knew you. It's like, how in the hell could you have even gone to this extent?
Mm-hmm. I think he says that in one episode too. Is like, what happened
Yeah,
here? You know.
exactly.
Rebel's
goes to
logic is flawed in this series, though. I don't know if it's writing or what, but it is flawed because she tells Obi Wan that the reason she wants to kill Vader is so that way he can't do things like he did to the younglings again. He doesn't want him to kill. But so that means your whole life you're going to work for him and kill innocent people, so that way you can kill him, so he won't kill innocent people. Because I've seen you in this show try to kill innocent people. Like,
did they kill them?
She was ordering.
We
for
saw
those people to be killed.
We saw a massive Jurassic Park style Ember collection of Jedi.
Well, that's true.
I don't know what happened to all of them.
That's true. Well, I just mean
like
at the beginning of the first few scenes, she's commanding them to kill those innocent people to try to draw Obi Wan out, and the other Inquisitors wouldn't do it. So, like, she's all aboard about doing the killing thing.
But you're also talking about the Obi Wan situation, and she's clearly crossing a line now. Like, all of the other Inquisitors feel like this is her breaking point, and that breaking point is coming because of now it's connected to Obi Wan / Anakin.
Okay, I can buy that.
So she's been playing ball the whole other part of the time and keeping her mouth shut and just, pissing people off rather than killing them. Maybe she hasn't been doing a whole lot of bad things.
Okay, the big problem I have with this series so far, it's happened, this is like the 4th time now. I think I sent y'all a picture last week with the first 3 of like, oh, if we could only get around these obstacles to capture these people. Like, one was the fire, then there was the vine. Like, it's like okay, they're really doing some bad writing with the getaways here. They did it again this episode. They had the badass scene where Vader walks in and there's this ship going out and it's just about to go out and he grabs it with the Force and pulls it back down. I was like, that's an awesome scene. You see the whole hangar in that scene.
Yep.
There's not another ship in that hangar. Okay? He brings it down. Then the other ship just lifts up and takes off. 1, there was no other ship there. Okay? 2, why wouldn't Vader just grab that one too?
No, his force meter was depleted.
I guess so. Yeah, in the video game,
I guess they were too far away for him to grab.
What else? So I saw that and I was like, "Come on, man!" Like, they were writing some really, really crappy escape plans in these show. That's the 4th.
I have not been a fan of the Vader stuff in this episode. I have not minded it in any other episode. I didn't mind the Rogue One thing. I didn't mind any of it. This episode, I'm just not a fan of it. Not to say I don't think that this show is really good,
right?
Because I'm on board with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? There has been something with all the shows I haven't really liked. But it hasn't been more than like this. Like, this is like my Vader thing. I don't know, like, long term, if I can look past it or not.
But think about it. What you're normally used to Vader, you're not really used to Vader doing these types of things.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
So
I don't know this time frame.
We've seen very minimal Vader. To be truly honest with you, we haven't seen a lot of Vader on screen.
So it's almost like I'm not seeing this truly as Vader. I'm really seeing this more as like the Anakin Vader hybrid, because I can see Anakin doing shit like this. I can see his emotion where he's like, "Oh, you come here. I'm just, just throwing tantrums and shit." Because a lot of times this is tantrums. I mean, I see that part of it. So if you took this and like I said, it's just that connection, because to me, this just feels like a younger version of Vader trying to like be the badass. I don't know. I guess this, what is it? Time period supposed to be like, what, 10 years?
10 years before.
Well,
10 years after Revenge of the Sith.
I could see like a lot of stuff that he does now, like maybe within like 3 to 5, not necessarily 10, because it seems like by that time it would be a little more, I guess, a little more dialed
that's
in.
where I think that right there is the prime point I think I'm trying to make. I could see it sooner. I'm not sure, because at the end of Rogue One, that fight didn't feel like it was so far separated from the Vader that we knew in Episode 4, because it happens right before.
I think it's because the Vader we're used to, he's more controlled. He's more controlled. This Vader is not. Well, it's like, I'm going to go in and just wreak havoc because I have this emotional, like, I want to find Obi Wan. I want to do this. I want, it's this emotional.
I have one middle finger, drive. So F the world.
Yeah. It's like you have this emotional drive, but that's not really what you see in the Vader that technically we're kind of used to.
Yeah. Well, look, I want to hit Panda's comment right here. She says, I think that Vader might have a bit of a soft spot because that's the youngling that survived with being talking about third sister, and maybe in his own hubris is the reason why Reb is still alive. Look, I'm looking at it as kind of like this. Like, I think the strongest Darth Vader is the Anakin Vader combo because the strongest version of that person is with Anakin in him, both light and dark side in him. So, in this, up to this point where we're going to have this gap, because we're going to have another 10, 12-year gap where where Vader either thinks Obi-Wan is dead or they're not, they never talk to each other, see each other. Okay. So I think that in this time where Vader knows Obi-Wan's alive and this stuff's going on, it's still more Anakin and Vader. Once Vader thinks Obi-Wan's gone, it's full on Vader, which is not as powerful as Anakin and Vader. Then once Obi-Wan and Vader meet back up and he feels the feeling he's not felt since ... Anakin wakes back up. And that's where Vader starts to make the turn again, where he has the moment in Jedi where he throws the that in my head canon, that's the way that
good
works.
Point. I like it.
Know? So
I can follow that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you played all the EA Star Wars games, but they're doing a Fallen Order subplot where the second sister. Oh, that'll be cool. I have Fallen Order, haven't started playing it yet, but I did start watching the Fallen Order movie, like just the video cutscenes, and I'm like 30 minutes into it, and it's a freaking awesome story. Like, it's just like watching a movie. I mean, you have to fill some parts in. You know,
the game is worth playing, my man.
Yeah. I want to, but I have to delete everything off my PlayStation first to be able to put it on there. So, or just buy some external memory. But that would be pretty cool to see a Fallen Order subplot. I'm more psyched for this remake of Qatar 2 coming out. Like, it's gonna be fun. Yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, Tala's sacrifice. We got to talk about that.
May the Force be with you.
Yeah. Got a phone call real quick, y'all. Talk about whatever y'all want to real quick.
The fact that she said that was really funny because you actually got that brought into this. You didn't I think that this show is showing you that since 10 years has passed, for me, that 10 years in Obi-Wan and for Obi-Wan is a heavy weight. Like, you see how far disconnected he is from the life that he has lived until now turning into the life that he needs to get back into. And for her, as someone who poses as an Imperial spy and everything else, to turn around and say, sacrifice yourself, may the Force be with you, it's ridiculous because you see the struggles. You see how Obi-Wan is having to come back to the life that he left. And he left because he had to kill his Padawan, his brother, his friend, his everything that he knew for his whole life for a while. So
I don't know how much more I can take of seeing Obi-Wan, like this look of just like utter disbelief.
Despair.
And like, I mean, it's the emotion that he's showing is, it's blowing my mind, and
heavy.
even in this episode, he was like, he said Anakin, not Vader, but it was just like, it's Anakin, and he's coming to grips to where Anakin Vader, he still sees them as kind of separate, and now he's starting to, I don't know if he can really he's trying to put it together, because he's seeing the things, he's like, it's not Anakin, that's Vader. Mm-hmm. It's just.
Well, you got to think about the weight on his shoulders. I mean, think about this. You are basically a superhero in your universe, okay, with responsibility to help keep the universe, not just a planet, the universe in order, okay? You find a guy who's supposed to be prophesized as the one who will let you accomplish your goal, which you've experienced your whole life and led your life by, and in literally a blindsided 1 hour move, everything's changed, not only to a point where everything you knew was destroyed, but now this affects the entire universe. Like, the weight on his shoulders is tremendous. Like, he's got to have some serious PTSD.
But to think that after their last battle, he thought he took care of it. I mean, it was he's like, okay, we had this final battle, we had this final showdown. He thought he was dead.
But see, even thinking he was dead, he still knows that the Jedi failed. There's still an empire out there. There's still a Sith that are ruling now. And even
And
if
he didn't
even if
expect Anakin
to be that guy. Oh yeah, and that's
Yes.
why it's even more on his shoulders. Yeah, it's
So to
crazy.
There's at
discover
least-
that, it's you're like, whoa,
Mhm.
that's one kick that I don't think he can come back from.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's two more things we need to discuss real fast, but I want to make the point. We have one episode left,
Oh no, it sucks.
and we know where it has to leave us.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't think that the rumors of having a Kenobi episode or a season 2 are as true as having stories that spawn off from this.
Right.
Mhm.
They have to end up in a place where the two of them fight, and he makes Anakin feel like he did in that flashback scene from this episode.
Mhm.
That has to be what happens.
Mhm.
So when we talk about things that we expect, I expect that to happen. I expect
Mhm.
Obi Wan to treat Anakin like a Padawan.
Mhm. But at the same time, like I said, Vader has to think Obi-Wan is defeated at the end of this episode.
Mhm.
Or they have to give me some kind of explanation as why he stops looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we
Yes.
do, you're right. We know where it ends up basically because of the way the episode ended, right? The communicator is found, which I'm sorry, if you're Obi-Wan, man, you keep that thing on you. You
Yeah.
don't give that to somebody else. You keep that thing on you.
Especially
Man.
to that dude. Haja is not the person that you just say, okay, take it and run.
Mm-mm. Panda says if there's a Kenobi season 2, it'll be 10 years' time. So I guess right before New Hope. That would make a little more sense. It depends on how they end the season. Panda, to be truly honest with you, it really does. Because think about it, this whole season it's only 6 episodes. Take its span over a few day period, right? 3 or 4 days, probably.
I know there's supposed to be a Reva centric show in talks. And I also know that, like, I also have read, I don't know, that Millie Bobby Brown is possibly connected financially through contract to something that's going to happen in the future.
Okay.
And it has always been rumored that she would play young Leia.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't played this young Leia because clearly way too old. But it is a thing that is making the rounds. So if it bears weight, then it is possible that there is a Reva, Leia, Luke. I would assume that they stay away from Luke because Luke is dangerous. If you tell a story around Luke,
You got to
You
be
start-
super careful with that one.
yeah, you start tampering on timelines and things that
Mhm.
exist that you don't need to, which is why I don't think that they tell an Obi-Wan story as much as they could possibly bring Ian McGregor back. But if they want to bring Ewan McGregor back, then they just do so. He's game. He's on board.
Oh, yeah.
But you could do that in a number of ways. You know,
And the best thing is you're only telling Obi-Wan stories as he's getting older, and guess what? In real life,
Exactly.
he's getting older,
Yeah.
so it works out perfect for. He's right in that time frame where he could play this character for the rest of his life.
Yeah, because I mean,
You know, says Panda says Millie would be a really good Leia. I'm not gonna lie, I gotta look up who that is. I don't know who that is.
because you haven't watched Stranger Things.
yeah, it's 11 from Stranger Things.
Okay, yeah, don't know who that is.
Well, if
Dude,
you've
my
ever
daughter's
seen,
even watched all of Stranger Things. I mean, come
Mine
on,
has
dude.
too. Got on me about it. Mine definitely has too.
they've
What was
done
the other
plenty
thing?
of posters, like fan posters and stuff for that, so it works out really well.
What was the other thing you said? You said you had 2 more things we had to talk about. I know one of them had to have been the end scene where they find the communicator, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The moment when the Grand Inquisitor returned.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
Yes.
there it
Well,
is.
here's the thing: with it being week to week, everyone's gonna talk massive shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But didn't everyone talk shit about him getting
That
killed?
shows Clone Wars
Yeah,
is canon.
that's what I'm saying.
Rebels is canon.
Mhm.
Rebels is canon.
Yes, and so that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, everyone gets the opportunity to talk shit. They get the opportunity to say things. Why? Because it brings in likes and subscribes and blah blah
Mhm.
blah blah.
Water cooler conversation. Yeah.
Right. But water cooler isn't what it used to be. Now it's YouTube.
Yeah.
So the simple fact that everyone made it such a big point, and I'm like, it's not a big point if you just wait. Just wait. No one has patience. We don't live in a patient world.
And that's the difference
People
in a
get a
movie.
text, have to
If
check
it
it
was a
while
movie,
driving.
you'd have seen it instantly. As soon as it ended and they came out and started talking about it, they would have had the answer for that. So, yeah.
But I think that him, I thought it was strange with his such tight connection with Vader. Like, Vader allowed him to essentially like castrate Reva like right in front of him. You know, like the Grand Inquisitor stepped up, walked right in front of Vader, and was just sitting there like berating the living hell out of her. Vader did nothing.
Yeah.
After
Well,
Vader,
I have a feeling probably the Inquisitor had Vader's ear prior to all this, because it's like, it's kind of like he was saying, it's like, you think Reva's gonna create or kind of go through this whole plan without Vader figuring it out, because especially as, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
yeah,
It's like there was some talking in the background.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
they knew.
Yes. So it's almost like a cat and mouse game.
Yeah, true.
So really, in this series, it's like, all right, who really is the mouse? We know Kenobi is. You have one of them too.
I would love to get an Emperor reference in this series. Like, I don't need to see a cameo, but just some kind of reference. And I don't have to have it either. It's not going to break it if I don't, but it'd be cool to hear something about that.
Just to kind of tie everything in, just to be like, oh, it's still there.
One of the coolest things about this episode was that lightsaber was, I did like with the Reva Darth Vader fight, how Vader takes her saber from her, breaks it in half.
Let's talk about all lightsabers in this
one to
episode.
her. Tosses one to her. I was like, oh, it's all... Which, by the way, how many lightsabers did she have? Because she had the double-ended lightsaber. She had the one with the circular blade on it. She
No, the double-ended is the
I
circular.
was happy to see the
but Vader broke that in half,
action.
and then whenever he leaves, it's one piece again.
That's all over the place right now. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. Everyone's
Okay.
like, "How did he break it?" And then it's mystically back together.
Okay. So I'm not crazy.
I don't know. I have no good answer for that. I can only say that he didn't break it. He just separated it. The Hella Saber. There's only that one saber, and it's double-ended. Like, he never pulls his out, which I think that they're saving that for the last episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, Vader's not gonna unsheath his saber until like it's necessary.
Well, he did against Obi Wan the first time they fought.
But it's not for Reva.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Reva's not
that's
worth
what I'm
his
saying.
saber. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
He's got like the quick coupler like gauges.
There you
go. But all of the other ones that they had, they just had a box of lightsabers in this show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not gonna lie,
like, when you go there,
I would have grabbed one.
Yeah.
But,
I would have taken them all.
Yeah.
But
I'm
see,
like,
but you know, and
I
another
knew
thing,
Grievous. I killed Grievous. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. I need all of these.
Yeah.
but that was another point in this episode too of, Obi-Wan opens it up and he sees, like you said, you see all these sabers, and you're like, these are probably Jedi that are no longer with us.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And especially picking up like the robes, it was almost like, reminiscence of a time past. And I mean, it was really sad.
It was actually very good because the costume choice is a transition from episode 3 to episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really clever. That's the kind of stuff I really pick up on that I really like, that most people want to see how the story progresses. I'm like, oh, that is a story for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does he get from like the person that he was to the person that he ends up being?
Uh-huh.
So it was cool seeing him don something different, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we got one episode left. The finale's next Wednesday, which I usually wait till Friday to watch these, but I'm pretty sure I'll be watching this one on Wednesday night because I'm excited to see what happens with it. I'm wondering, do we get a little Luke in this? Because we haven't had anything but the small little distant picture, and then we saw him sleeping in this episode. Do we see any kind of action with Luke at the end of this? Does that actor have a line? Or is he just a stand-in for Luke, young Luke?
I worry that they're going to not address it, and that's going to be where they pick up whatever happens after this.
Okay.
I think that your resolve is going to be them getting away, him returning Leia, and then him figuring out what he has to do to disconnect what is currently known from Anakin and his kids and himself, and then have the battle.
And that raises the other question. Reva's the one who found the communicator.
Mhm.
She didn't even get the whole message. Is she going to reunite with Vader to give him this message?
And it feels so good.
Yeah, like what's going to happen here? Are you going back to the guy who just basically bitch slapped you and, pulled your
Well, the plan was kind of like, laid bare. I mean, it was like he knew that she was, basically gunning for him. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any really return on that one.
I don't know.
I think the only thing that you can do is have her become a problem in whatever is going to turn into the next season.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
At some point he has to protect Luke, right? Well, not protect Luke. He has to make sure that nothing comes in between Luke and the world that he doesn't need to know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Rev is part of that problem, then she could be a big bad, or she could be something else. Who knows what they're going to come up with?
Yeah.
I just know that they're going to tell a story after this. I just don't know what it is yet.
Right. You know what? I kind of want to go into it not knowing what it is. I'm enjoying this.
As always.
What do you think? She could possibly team up with Obi Wan, and then somehow it kind of goes south.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, look, anything's on the table.
She could be the fault where, their defeat could possibly mask the fact of, or, kind of turn Vader off of thinking that he had defeated, or turn on to he had defeated Obi-Wan.
Dude, Obi-Wan can't make sashimi and feed his little farting animal the whole entire time. Like, there has to be something else that he does, right?
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, if they're going to give us more Obi-Wan, they need to have some kind of connection with Ahsoka, because the connection with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka in Clone Wars and throughout the whole story, and for like Order 66 to happen, and then he just never ever tries to contact her again. I'm just like, come on, y'all, fill that blank in. This is like his daughter. Like, I'm just waiting for that storyline where he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about Ahsoka. Let's try to see what's going on with her. Like, so if they give me more Obi-Wan, then connect those stories a little bit.
You're not waiting hard enough. You didn't watch Rebels.
Yeah.
Not that anything happened there. I'm just saying that, you can fill in more information.
I hear you. Okay. Yeah, I should. I will. I got season 1 out of the way. Just got to do the other 3 seasons. season 2 is a lot longer than season 1. So.
Yeah, but it is so worth it.
Oh, I imagine it is. I've watched the first, I think, 2 or 3 episodes of season 2. I just hadn't fully gotten back into it, and I'm off Monday. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll sit down and watch a few hours of Rebels on Monday, because you could blow through a season 6-7 hours of nothing to do.
It's Rebels. Like, you don't need to watch every last little thing. It would help, but like, you can turn it on in the background and do some shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do y'all have anything else about Obi-Wan? We got the finale next week, and then Ross, I think you said next week Umbrella Academy drops, right? Wednesday. So if they do, I don't know if they're doing the whole season or just the first few episodes. I
assume it's the whole thing, but
Isn't that what they've done in the past?
Yeah.
If it is the whole thing, then we might just cover like the first half of it or the first few episodes of it next week. That way we're not like strained to watch the whole season in like a few days.
Well, we can stretch it out. We can do like 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah. That way we're not and give us something to talk about. Give us a little more water.
It will be the last episode of Obi-Wan, so that's pretty much like a focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then you're gonna have episode 3 of Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 8 of Strange New Worlds, which I assume is going to be kind of a filler.
Because they've got, what, 10?
10.
Yeah, so it's getting close to the end. And then, what's the other one?
Boys.
The Boys. Which we have.
I should be up to date by then, so.
Okay.
Good, because I'm going to tell you right now, this is called Geeks Chasing Squirrels, not Geeks Chasing Hamsters.
No. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because we wouldn't be able to catch that hamster. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Fuck Jamie.
Yeah, we would not be able to catch that hamster.
Why you gotta tell me that shit? Because now I'm like...
Now I got to go watch it. You'll see it.
I don't know about that.
It's hella hamster.
You didn't talk about termites. I No.
Uh, so Panda asked, "Do we know what they're going to do with Elliot Page's character?" It's
Actually, kind of. The simple fact that they're doing uh, they're doing how do I describe it? It's kind of like a universe jump, like a multiverse style
Like a
jump.
multiverse,
Right.
yeah. It's like another
So with the
we're getting a
iteration.
Sparrow
of
different
Academy,
version.
Mhm.
Yeah, I believe it's
Sparrow-
Victor is the name that they're going by in this one. Where instead of Vanya, it's Victor.
yeah, and so
So
they're already blending it in. So it's and they
they
shot this like 2 years ago or something. So
yeah, they actually handled that situation
transition.
with the character, the position with the character, very kind of flawlessly in the show. Like writing
Mhm.
the show to be able to, I'm like, wow, they did a pretty good job of writing that in there, and not just changing and not saying anything, or which they have the right to do that too. But like they took what they had and they wrote it into a story that what
Yeah,
looks like, from what I think,
dude,
is going to make a lot of sense. You know?
this show has like once again like no limits. Like there's nothing that they can't do
Oh yeah.
that will just not seem like it doesn't belong. So
I tell you what I hope though is I really, really hope if we're doing different universes, I really hope we get to see Cha-Cha and what's his name again? Like because I love those characters. It'd be cool to see a different version of those characters.
that first episode or that first season with
Mhm.
them in the lab. Yeah, oh, that was
Awesome.
really good.
Oh yeah. But all right, cool. Well, we'll be back next week. Plans right now next Friday, unless we have no power or we have stuff that comes up or anything else happens, and we can always just fire. But we're gonna try to be here every week regardless. So 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, either Friday or Saturday. And if things push where they have to, maybe we'll do a Sunday show sometimes. We'll see. But Thor: Love and Thunder coming up. We just went over all the list of shows. The content never stops, so we won't either. Sarah, where can they find you at if they want to talk to you?
You can find me on Twitter at MyLadyKitten. Pretty much bounce around there, here and there. So that's about it.
Yes. Ross here, correct?
Here and
Only here.
you can find me in a theater the Thursday before Love and Thunder.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one, buddy. I'm telling you, it's gonna be fun times. Glad we got tickets already. You can find me at the Bat Daddy 52 on Twitter. It's my personal handle on Twitter. At GCS Podcast 1 is the show handle. Like I said, 9 p.m. Fridays or Saturdays, generally Fridays, Eastern Standard Time every week. And that's all I got, man. So until next week, y'all keep pounding.
Bye, guys.
Later.